7th, no, 6th, planning board meeting. Join the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And since Catherine isn't here, I guess Catherine is our secretary, was sick today, so she can't be back home. Let's just do this the quick way and see everybody's here. Kozel, Anderson, Arena, Malta, Jardina, Mexel, Fischel, we're all here. Josh Artuso is here, and our attorney is also here, so we're all set. Okay. That done. We'll get this quick.
All right.
And this is our first meeting where we've actually had people sitting here, so it's kind of good. I hope you guys are all friendly. I can't see with the masks on. All right, let's get this thing going underway. So go ahead with the first one.
Village physical therapy sign located at 803 Ridge Road. Applicant Patrick Tavera is requesting sign approval for an additional 15 square feet building mounted sign for corner tenant space in Webster Woods Plaza on a 3.54 acre parcel located in MC medium intensity commercial district under the code of town of Webster.
So
Yes, sir.
I actually came before you guys about a month ago.
Yep.
So we purchased the office. The issue was when we put in the order to order the lights, we realized none of them had permits. And so I came before you guys for the east-facing sign one in March, and then we went through the zoning board of appeals for the sign facing north. So that's what I'm here for today. It's we got the approval from them. It's the same style sign.
Yep.
There's no illumination. There's no lighting on it. Instead of a football sign, it looks more like the kind of oval that matches the one over the east-facing sign. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. Same size, same color.
Yes. Well, same different colors.
Now that sign doesn't have lights on it. Are you putting lights over it,
No.
or not even lit, right?
Nope.
Just the sign going.
Just the sign. Yeah.
All right. You didn't have any issues with the first one at all conformed. You did get your variance, sorry for the way the system works, but it is what it is.
Well, it's fine.
Yeah. So with that, anybody any questions or concerns? Pretty much the same thing as what you had. Nothing? Nothing? So you want to make a motion? Oh, we got to do a procedure, right? We have to do a procedure?
Yes.
We did it? Yeah. Another one?
No, go ahead, you get one?
We did one for the first one. For the first
We
sign. Don't have it, okay. All right, so you want to make a motion for approval for the sign?
I'll make a motion to approve the sign in Village Physical Therapy located at 803A Ridge Road. Per the drawing number, dated last revision 2/16/2021, E.2, as applied for.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no one carried, okay. You're all set.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good evening.
Okay, second one.
Thomas Landscape Pole Barn located at 775 Ridge Road. Applicant Richard Thomas requesting preliminary final site plan approval to remove an existing storage shed and construct a 72 square foot pole barn in its place on a 2.97 acre parcel located at MC medium intensity commercial district under the code of town of Webster.
Yes, sir.
I'm Rick Thomas, owner of Thomas Landscape, and I'm looking for approval for, as you said, a pole barn to replace an existing structure. The pole barn is to the east and behind our store.
So what are you doing? Did you take, or Rich, you're taking down the old shed
Correct.
that's, it's kind of in back of the store part?
Behind the store, just to the east of the
Yeah.
building. The old shed had been there 15 years. It was time that it went. It was 14 by 20. The pole barn we wanted to do was 20 by 36, which fits in that area with space.
And the greenhouse is going to go pretty much next to the building.
The greenhouse, yeah, the greenhouse actually will be in front of the pole barn. The ones that, so that the only thing you'll see from the road is still the existing greenhouses.
Any questions, anybody?
Let's call for a public hearing.
Tony?
What's that?
Is this call for a public hearing?
Yes, it is. Let's- so the greenhouse is going. So there's just the one building going in, right?
Correct, just the
Yeah,
one
okay. All
building.
right, that's where I was getting confused, I saw one was crossed out, okay. So the actual greenhouse, you producing plants inside there and stuff like that?
Yeah, the greenhouses are already there. That's the two structures that you see to the left of, as you look at our building.
Uh-huh.
And behind it is where the pole barn would go. That is where the shed is now.
In that area, okay.
So I don't even think you would see with the greenhouse in the front, I don't
Okay.
think you'd even see the pole barn.
All right, again, this is a public hearing. If there is anyone wishing to speak either for or against this project, you can actually, while we're discussing it, you can call 872-7011 with any comments. In the meantime, Dave, anybody, John, you guys have any concerns about
What's
this?
this gonna be, what's the outside gonna be like?
It'll be a standard pole barn material, which will be steel. It will be a tannish gray with a dark blue roof. No windows, just a 10-foot garage door and a small access door on the side.
It's not gonna be the same as what's depicted on the... This one shows like 4 overhead doors.
No,
That's a
no,
different application.
yeah, it's strictly a single 10 by 10 garage door.
It's not going to be higher than the building, is it?
No,
Your office, right?
no, the garage door is 10 by 10, so I figure it would be 12 foot plus the roof pitch.
How's the drainage coming out? The gutters, how, where's it?
It'll be gutters, it'll be tied into, there's we've got a storm sewer right, basically to the left and forward, and it'll be tied in there. That's exactly the same place that the gutters from the building are tied into.
Is there heat, water,
No,
electricity?
nope, no, we're just using it the same as the shed, which is to store dry materials and landscape materials.
Okay, no one is called, no one is here for or against this. We'll close the public hearing, back to the board. Any concerns with it? Anybody? Dave? John?
All set.
Gary? Mark? All right, we got this super round.
Webster Planning Board considered a request by applicant Richard Thomas to construct a 20-foot by 36-foot pole barn located on a 2.9-acre parcel at 775 Bridge Road, having SBL number 079.17-01-021.20. Planning Board classifies an opposed action as a type 2 action under section 617.5C2 of the State Environmental Quality Review Regulations, and therefore it's not subject to further review.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no one is so carried for the seeker. Somebody want to make a motion for approval of this? It's pretty simple setup. There's an existing building, pretty much concealed in the back. Height isn't any higher than the building, so it's nothing obtrusive sticking out or anything
No,
like
it'll
that.
be lower than the existing.
Okay.
I'll make a motion if we want.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion for landscape pole barn for Thomas, located at 775 Ridge Road, for preliminary final site plan approval to remove an existing storage shed and construct a 720 square foot pole barn in its place on a 2.97 acre parcel located in an MC medium intensity commercial district under section 228.8 of the code of the town of Webster.
On the site drawing date on here, the drawing is dated March 3rd, but there's no drawing of it, so we just, we received the package to drawing that date.
The date is March the 1st, 2021.
I'll second.
You making it subject to,
Subject to,
as presented.
as presented, yes.
Okay, we have a motion, who seconded? Derek, second, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. For, get to a final, we'll do a final? While you're on the roll?
Oh, I thought I did the final as
No,
well.
that's preliminary.
Okay, this is, I'd like to make a motion for final approval for Thomas Landscape Pole Barn, located at 775 Ridge Road. Again, it's to remove an existing storage shed, construct a 720 square foot pole barn, and it's placed on a 2.97 acre parcel located in an MC medium intensity commercial district under section 22H of the code of the town of Webster. And we're using the date of 3/21/2021 as a reference.
Okay, you might want to add in there some of the conditions that the engineer has a letter of certification that the work is done and completed for planning board approval. Significant construction to commence by
April the 6th,
22.
2022.
Okay. Subject to Department of Public Works approvals. Want to put that in here? I'll just read them out. Subject to preliminary approval conditions, subject to all applicable governmental fees, and subject to Department of Public Works. We got the construction date, letter of credit. I don't know, you didn't have to post a letter of credit for that, so that's not, that doesn't want to say, okay. Downspouts, that's all resolved. Okay, I think that's a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, no, carried. Good luck with the project, Rick.
Thank you, appreciate it very much.
Yep.
Dickinson Road, located at 24 Dickinson Road, applicant Jane Madison.
And you're Italian when you can't pronounce it. Jeez.
It gets the best of it.
And this is the waterfront consistency review and preliminary final dock approval. Construction of a 6-foot wide by 45-foot long permanent floating dock, 2 moorings, and seasonal boat hoist associated with the 1.9 acre parcel located in R-3 single-family residential district under the Code of Town of Webster.
Good evening.
Hello. So assuming you all have the packets put together.
Could you give us your name and address, please?
Jane Master-Gray, 124 Dickinson Road, Webster. So we're seeking, as you mentioned, to put in a floating dock on our property. We have roughly 524 linear feet of shoreline, and the location is approximately in the center section of that, leaving about 200 feet to the east of the next property line and about 325 feet around Stony Point to the other property. We essentially own the point of land there. So we really don't have any close docks. In fact, the next dock is another couple hundred feet further east at the current time. And we've given you a detailed version of the layout that was approved by the DPC and Army Corps, showing roughly the configuration of the pilings that we would need, the gateway to get down to it. It's designed to accommodate the 5-foot or more water height variances that we seem to be getting. The second detailed drawing shows the hoist area located on the west side of the floating dock. Aerial version of that. And then I also attached the DEC permit to reference that. So it's consistent with what we had originally applied for.
Let me ask, just could you just take that mic down a little bit? Yeah, that way we'll be. What's the deal with the mooring ball out there? Is that, do you have those? You already have those, don't you?
No, that's a neighbor.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep. So we do not have any mooring balls currently.
Okay, so yours is just with that?
Well, we requested to put, and have approved to put 2 mooring balls in, we just haven't put them in yet, pending.
Well, you've got that well-maintained, your application too, by the way.
Thank you.
You got your permits already from
Right.
DEC.
Right.
You've got
That big road.
a complete application. I don't see any issue with it. It's just for personal use.
Yes.
Couple boats.
Well, one small
Yeah.
boat.
Well, okay.
Maybe someday.
It's for personal use.
Yes,
so it's
correct.
not for
Correct.
It's
Yes.
just for personal use, not for renting out.
No,
Some of these things kind of involve in agreements.
no, it's,
Okay. Anybody? Any issues or concerns? And again, yeah, this is public hearing also, so this is. Using the number again, if anyone, any neighbors or anyone is concerned regarding this proposed dock installation, it's at 727011. And other than that, Steve, anybody, you guys, you're all right with that? No, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Neat operations.
Got it all done right.
Doesn't infringe on neighbors' properties, obviously. Yeah.
no, we have
Got a big
a lot
section
of
right
space.
there.
The bigger problem we have is the erosion.
You know what I looked at when I saw this, though? You know, your approach to the dock is only like 3 foot, your gangway, going out?
It's narrow, yes.
Yeah, why
It's a-
don't you make it so narrow?
It's kind of a standard size for purchasing an aluminum anyway. It's heavy, and so the wider you make it, the heavier it gets, so. Not that big, so when we have to move it,
You're putting piling now to support. it's
yeah,
not
but the dock will be separate, right, and it's floating, so the gangway has rollers on it, so as the dock elevates.
floating. Okay, got you.
Right, and
All
so
right.
the gangway has to be long, again, because of water.
But your gangway then has railings in it.
Yes, correct.
I'm just
Yeah.
talking, hoping someone's going to call.
Um,
Okay, no, that sounds like a real nice setup here. All right, no one's called, I don't believe there's any concerns. She does have all the paperwork, everybody's got a copy of her DEC permit and everything. I don't see any issues with this proposal at all. Secret on this, because we have to do, Roger, this is more your line now. I dug up some ones that we've approved in the past, and to do secret on it, DEC's already given approvals and stuff on it. And we have to do an approval based on local waterfront revitalization. So based on that, it actually has, in that proposal, it has all the things that we would put for the, but we could do it anyways. Do you have one prepared? Yeah. Go ahead and use it anyway. More.
No, what you're talking, because the town has to plan it,
Yeah.
those are much different. Town of Webster Planning Board consider a request by Joseph and Jane.
Close, master draft.
To construct a 6-foot by 65-foot floating dock adjacent those boatways and moorings on a 1.9-acre parcel located at 124 Dickerson Road, having SBO number 063.17-0002-013. The planning board determined that the proposed action is an unlisted action under section 617 of the state environmental quality review regulations. The planning board determined that the action is subject to single agency review pursuant to part 617.6B1 of seeker, that is the most appropriate agency for making the determination of significance. The planning board therefore designates itself lead agency for the proposed action. The planning board has given consideration to the criteria for determining significance as set forth in section 617.7C1 of seeker, and has 1, considered the information contained in the short environmental assessment form, part 1 dated March 6, 2021. 2, consider the information contained in the New York State Department of Environmental
PID 8-2653-00615, dated December 1st, 2018. Number 3, consider public comment structure for the planning board during the public hearing on April 6th, 2021, and 4, completed part 2 of the environmental assessment. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Webster Planning Board hereby determines that the proposed action will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment for the reasons set forth in the attached notice of determination and non-significance. Be it further resolved that the town of Webster Planning Board is authorized to make all actions reasonable and necessary to file a negative declaration and discharge the town of Webster Planning Board's responsibility as lead agency for this action. Be it further resolved that the town of Webster Planning Board, based on the information and analysis above, the reference supporting documentation, the discussions of the actions by the town of Webster Planning Board as documented in the minutes for this meeting, that the proposed action will not result in any significant environmental impacts. Be it further resolved that the town of Webster Planning Board therefore makes a determination on significance. Be it further resolved that the town of Webster Planning Board, based on the above reasons, issues a negative declaration as evidence of this determination.
Second.
Okay, need a second? Derek? Derek Nixon, second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. It's carried. We should probably enter this also. This is basically the LWRP. It's based on a comprehensive review of the Webster Planning Board. It's determined that the applicant has received their permits from New York State DEC. And again, a lot of this is repetition of what Derek used. The project doesn't have, there's no significant impact, adverse impact on traffic, sewage, air, water, aesthetics. The area project will not detrimentally impact groundwater, stream, wetlands, flood zones, and shoreline. Public utilities and services are adequate to meet the needs of the proposal. It is not contiguous with any critical environmental area. The project will not affect any threatened or endangered species of plant life or will impact significantly upon an agricultural, historical site or archaeological resource. The project is consistent with the town of Webster's LWRP. The project meets the town zoning and building codes. The project will minimize erosion hazards, including retaining, you've got the retaining wall there too, so the project will minimize erosion hazards through long-term structure measures regarding stormwater and drainage, and this is subject to the engineering and the PRC comments. That would be a motion for, that would be preliminary also.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? No. Okay, we have to do a final approval, make it subject to all preliminary approvals and subject to significant construction commenced within 1 year. I'm sorry?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I did.
He did.
Yeah. Okay. You don't mind? Why is that taking a little bit? Now we did open it early, but I try to open it ahead of time, this way here, while we're still discussing it. If you open it, then you see you're waiting for comments, you know, it's a good time. What was it?
1 year.
Yeah, significant construction to begin within 1 year, and this is subject to all engineering and town approvals. Okay, that would be the motion for final.
I'll second.
A
We need a
second.
date, we need a date, April.
I'm sorry?
April.
Yeah, April 6th, 2012. You have a second, have a motion and a second, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no one carried, okay. What's that? Good luck with your doc.
Thank you. You did.
Did a nice job of doing paperwork.
Thank you.
Ridge Road, storage building located at 1650 Ridge Road, applicant Sligo is requesting sketch plan review to allow construction of a 60 by 112 metal building with 12 by 12 foot lean-to on-site storage of equipment associated with the landscaping business on 1.12 acre parcel located in an LC 2 Road Contested Commercial District under the Code of Town of Webster.
Good evening, everyone, and Associates. Steve Slagle is with me tonight. He He's the owner of the property, the user. We're looking for, sketch plan. We have done preliminary for tests. The building will have electric lighting, there will be sewage facilities. So the septic's, the preliminary's all, there's good soils there. This used to be one of the parcels that the state of New York owned. And I think they were using it for access to when they were building 104. So other than that, it's zoned correctly. And the only thing that we're going to need is a rear setback variance for the building, because it is close to the, too close to the state, to the New York State right away.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's plenty of room and, it fits well.
Now, Al, I was talking to Josh about it, because of the size, it's not an accessory use, obviously, it's a standalone building.
Right.
It's a metal building. Is it a business operating from there?
Yeah, I can speak to that if you want.
Sure, give us your name.
Sure, my name is Steve Schlegel. I'm the property owner there. So I own a landscaping business that has another main headquarter location in Ontario. We do a lot of snow removal in Webster for all residential customers. And you might have even seen the tractors around town. We're the ones that have a whole fleet of orange Kubota tractors. We do residential snow blowing opposed to plowing. Webster residents have really liked that, just provides a much better result for them. But due to the nature of the tractors and having to drive them down the street, we need a location within Webster to be able to house all of those tractors and then be able to have them roll out from there for a snowstorm. So it's just for storage of those tractors.
Okay. Now, what's our function tonight here? We have to look at this, Josh, and then refer it to the town board, right?
Yeah, because of the square
The
footage,
size of it.
I believe there's a special permit by the town board.
So we had the initial, we went to the town board a few weeks ago, and then they sent it to here. From here, we're going to go to the zoning board for the rear setback variance. Once they approve that variance for the rear setback, we'll come back here for a preliminary final. And then from there, we go back to the town board for the final special use permit. So I guess what we're looking for, based on what we submitted, the drawings and all that,
Just
the approval to go to the zoning board.
So tonight's just a review. I asked it, basically.
Right.
We should have another name for this, though. It's a little technicality. I've been looking at it, and when I first looked at it, I think, okay, pole barns, there's door barn, there's store stuff, but size is excessive, according to what the code says, but somehow just call it a office and building or whatever, just like a store. You know what I'm saying? It should have a different name. I mean, this is,
It's a warehouse of sorts.
Is there an office inside?
No, they're not.
So basically, it's just your equipment.
Correct.
But there is sewage facilities inside.
just to call it a storage.
So that they can, people are there, they would go.
You know what I'm gonna do? I think there may have been some comments or concerns. We'll open the public hearing to this, and it is really public. We'll open it anyways, because I did get a couple phone calls myself today. 872-7011. One of the comments was a neighbor was concerned about noise. I know obviously the vehicles have to go out early in the morning, and if they're going out there, they're making a lot of noise. Want to address that?
Sure. So it's only probably, especially winters like this, maybe a dozen times, 20 times we go out throughout the season. The tractors themselves are pretty quiet. Same, noise level that you pretty much have out of a car or something like that. And then, it's all within a pretty short window. Everyone arrives there at once, they hop in the tractors, and then they're out of there. And then we complete our snow run, and then once they're back, it's quiet again. So it's not, a daily, we're not there 9 to 5 every day, working and grinding away.
Now, obviously the size of this, you've got all your equipment inside.
Correct.
No outside storage on the site.
Correct.
No outside storage on the site.
Correct.
just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
Yes, all the tractors, all that will be kept inside. So that's the reason for the size of it. We had to go that big just to be able to accommodate
That's
getting
why,
everything
that's
inside.
why I told them that this is what we followed through with.
Question, Steve, on the state environmental form, question 20, it says, as site proposed adjacent adjoining property subject to remediation for hazardous waste, and it was check mark yes, and mark yes, you're supposed to describe what that waste is.
Yeah, there was no way to change it. It comes from the DEC,
Okay.
and there's nothing indicated, there's no hazardous waste in the area. You look at the log, and I don't know why it's like that, but it's a mistake.
Okay, all right.
But it's one of those things where you try to change it, you can't change it.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's because of Xerox, I noticed that.
Oh, okay. Sure.
There was nothing nearby. I mean,
Okay.
just,
All
yeah.
right. Thank you.
The 24-foot canopy, that isn't on there now, that's not going to be put on right away.
So the intent was going to be to put that on in a year. I was trying to go through, because of all the different, basically there were 5 boards between the planning board, town board, and zoning board I had to go through. I was trying to get all those approvals so that next spring when we're ready to put the lean-to on the side, I'd have all the approvals all set for that, and I wouldn't have to go back through all 5 approvals again. So I was seeking approval for the main structure that was 60 by 112, as well as that lean-to on the side.
But if you did have to come back in, I think it would be a one-shot deal, it could be a preliminary final all at once. We'd have to go back to the town board again. I don't believe, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is, let's get a track record, make sure this thing is doing what it's supposed to be doing,
Okay,
before we say yes
okay.
to it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to put an approval on something that isn't going to be built for a year, or a year and a half from now. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Is it possible to have the approval be, if, I just heard some of the other projects before me, that if we do it within a year, we're good with that? Otherwise, if we're not ready to do it at that point, then we'll come back here?
What do you guys think? My thinking is, it's just a matter of him coming in one night to a meeting and getting a preliminary and final approval versus giving an approval now, and then it isn't conforming to what we're asking him to do. These are kind of touchy. I'm all faith in what you're doing. But sometimes these things, for some miraculous change of events, they don't pan out the way we want it. There's stuff outside and so on and so forth. It's hard to bring it all back, and that's the only reason I'm
Yep,
suggesting.
no, I understand.
Do that one meeting, preliminary final approval, and that's that.
Tony, when he goes to the ZBA, would you be going for the setback from the corner of the building or the setback from the buildings?
Well, you need a setback, yeah.
Yeah, I think
We'll go for the 17.
What do you guys want to do?
because of both separately, he's gonna have to get another variance for the addition or a setback. He's probably still gotta go before the town board. I don't think it's just cut and dried come before us.
Okay, how about this then? All right, how about this? We approve it subject to, okay, we can approve it subject to the applicant following through with his commitment to have all storage inside the building. So if everything is good for the year, then you got it. If there's an issue that comes up, then the town still has the ability to say, wait, you better come back and we got to talk.
Okay.
All right?
So that's good
Work
for,
for you guys? I think we're giving him what he wants, but yet we still have a little grip to make sure you're doing
yeah,
what
no,
you're asking.
perfectly understandable. So that means construction on the lean-to on the side would have to be done within 12 months from the preliminary final, when we come back here?
Well, we
Is that how that
can
would be?
set it a year and a half, I suppose.
Okay, that would be great.
I don't think there's anything that has to
Yeah,
lie.
if we could do like a year and a half from our preliminary
Would
final,
that work for you?
that would be perfect.
Okay. Very good. What's that? Yeah, but that's the reason for that 1 year significant construction is where developments come and they don't, this is how this all developed with the history of it. When you approve something and then nothing happens for 4 or 5 years and the guy comes, meanwhile, the property owner next door says, well, wait a minute, what's going on? I thought this was this, and, you know, it became a nightmare. So we said 1 year to start. Otherwise, you have to come back in because your neighbor may have changed something. But something like this, the building is there, you own the property, it's already on it. You guys okay with that? You know what I mean? This right here, give them a year and a half to do it. Then you can go to the zoning board, you've approved it for a year and a half.
At this point, I think he's already constructed the building in that year.
Yeah,
So he started the construction.
yeah, the building would be up, yeah. So we just need that name to start. All right.
So what day are we talking about? April, 6 months after April?
October 6th. Yeah.
No, there's no approval tonight, so
No,
he's gotta go to the town board yet, or to the variance. So when he comes back, we're gonna make a motion tonight. So when he comes back in, we make a motion, and we just put that in there. For the zoning board to be made aware of what our thinking is. They go along with that too. All right?
Sure.
I have concerns that I'll address those before the next tonight's presentation. Make sure when you come back for preliminary, you specifically notice all your neighbors who are affected by this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Make sure that you have proof of service so that if they have issues, you know.
No, absolutely.
I have a question. You said this is for snow equipment storage,
Yes.
so that means there will be hardly any activity around there in the summertime?
How's it snows?
No, is there lawn equipment in there also?
So we have a landscaping business. Like I said, our main operation is in Ontario. That's where everyone shows up in the morning. That's where we leave from. But, you know, seasonal stuff, like right now, we're doing rolling and aeration. Once that stuff's done, we may try to put that stuff over in the building just when we're not using it. But we're not going to be accessing stuff all the time.
All right. You got some elevations in here, you got some clear elevations, all one color, you want to review the actual color, sample, close-up colors that you use, and others. The bottom 4 foot, you're putting, it looks like a stone, what is it, plastic or something?
Yeah, it's one of the newer vinyl stone products. It looks like real stone, like a stacked ledge stone. So that'll be the bottom 4 foot wainscot all the way around the building.
All right, and where you're putting the building, since you're in the landscape business, you can probably get a deal on your landscaping, right? You want to make sure you show a landscape drawing of what you're doing on the property, what you design for the landscape.
Okay.
Put something significant there, make it look attractive. Okay? Okay, you can bring that in when you come back in. You'll be all set. All right, good luck. Anybody have any other questions?
We're sending a letter to the ZBA.
We could do that. What do you think, Josh? Can you draft a letter to the zoning board? I don't make it sound like we're pushing at them, but we really should let them know where we stand, unless they're watching or unless they read our minutes. You know? I'll talk to you tomorrow and figure it out. All right, okay, you're all set.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Al. We'll see you later. Yep, go ahead.
House 2 is located on the south side of Circle Road between Phillips Road and South and at 800 Phillips Road LLC. Requesting preliminary subdivision site plan approval to construct 25 lot residential subdivision with associated roads, utilities, stormwater management improvements on a whole 34.8 acre parcel located as LMR, low medium residential district in the Dakota County website.
Sir.
Good evening, my name is Mike Ritchie from Positive Engineering, representing Tom Thomas, the owner and developer, who is here with us as well. We're requesting preliminary site plan subdivision approval for the 55-lot subdivision shown here, located on the south side of Schleifer Road between Salt and Phillips. This property was part of the rezoning that was done for Bellaterra directly to the east. That was done in 2018. This property was shown on that rezoning. Seeker was done at the time, so it's our understanding that Seeker would not need to be redone since this is consistent with that application. Traffic impact study was done at that time, and it included full build-out for this portion of the rezoning, and it concluded that there would be no negative impacts at full build-out, so we don't believe traffic is an issue. We have met 2 different times with just to refine the concepts. And we have the time sheet on it from those meetings. We show basically one connection to Schlegel Road, a future connection into the Bella Terra subdivision. There's a stormwater management facility located along the road to provide easy access for town staff to maintain the stormwater management facility. Architecturally, style-wise, it's intended to be really similar to Meadows subdivision directly to the west. These are slightly larger lots than the Bella Terra and Meadows subdivision lots, so we think it's a good fit, a good transitional use. There's a wetland, basically a farm ditch along the south line that was delineated. We're not proposing any disturbances to that wetland. We are discharging our stormwater at Schlegel in an existing box culvert. We submitted a SWIP and it meets all New York State DEC requirements. With that, I would welcome any questions the board has.
Yeah, PRC has reviewed this thing also. Actually, at one point, there's major improvement. We had the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
That was eliminated to complete the circle the way it's laid out now, which turns out really nice. What did the PRCs? They were good with it. Oh, good. They were good.
Yeah, they were mainly technical in nature, and the developer and I, we have no issue with them. I think we can comply with those comments.
Just a continuation of the existing project. Yeah, it's a housing development. They all conform. The detention facilities are the big concerns. All engineering detail, that was all through. So it really wasn't. You know what we'll do? Again, this is a preliminary, so let's open the public hearing. So the number, if anyone is interested in this project, is 872-7011. And we can continue on. Anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Secret was done on the entire project? Correct, 150 acres, which included, it's all currently still, well, just recently been subdivided, but yes, the whole entire parcel was rezoned. And
So you're just coming and developing the second phase of that?
Oh, this, the neighbor, yeah, another portion of it. It was all shown in the rezoning. It was shown conceptually. Actually, it was shown 57 lots during rezoning. We were proposing 55 lots, so it's slightly below the threshold that was reviewed during secret.
I was just curious, when are you going to start construction on Bella Terra?
As soon as we can. We owe the town a couple filed easements, and once we do that, we'd like to schedule a pre-construction meeting and get going in the next few weeks.
I was just curious.
Different part of my eyesight here, looking at your map. You're talking about 4.116 acres of open space to the town?
Correct, and that's mainly the stormwater, this area in the northeastern corner for the bioretention stormwater management facility.
Okay, thank you.
I'm really concerned about traffic, but like, at least to have consider regulators that four-way stop.
I agree with you 100%.
Like, this is just constant.
I agree 100%.
I saw somebody blast right through Schlegel the other day. Like, I was coming down Salt.
I argued that, remember, with the golf course, when it came out.
I think we need to write a letter to support it. Send it to them.
You go from Salt Road, you're on Schlegel, going east, and you go over to Basket Road, which
There's a
is
four-way stop
no
there. There's no
traffic
traffic
there.
at all.
No traffic, and it's a four-way stop. This is like two major roads intersecting, and it's just a four-way stop.
And Salt Road is a racetrack.
Yeah,
So it's not, you know, the stop sign is not a traffic. Speed enforcement.
what do you think, Raj?
Yeah, just gonna limit approval tonight. That's all I can-
Oh, no, it won't do anything, it won't do anything for the approval for this. This is a whole separate issue, this would be. For the, in other words, I'm not going to tie it in with this. It's something it's our concern for the town of Webster, for Salt Road, Schlegel Road area. It really isn't just this project, it's all the projects.
Instigated
provide this,
No.
this project.
That's good.
No, it's just a
Okay.
final push.
I don't want to stop this. Yeah, okay. Josh, what do you think? You good? All right, so we can make a letter or next day, whatever. Sunday. Okay, all right. All right. Anyone have any concerns with this project?
No,
What was the only one I saw that was, which one was it? The lots, no, I think they were all, 145, lot 145, that fits under okay, doesn't it? Yeah. It's right on the curve.
Yeah, 145, it's a corner lot, it does
Yeah,
fit, we made sure that
We're
it is
looking
two
at
front.
that. Yeah, okay. All right, they're all conforming. All right, we'll do a secret on it, Derek? Oh, we had, that's right, it was on the overall project. So we don't need to go to it. All right, so we need a motion for preliminary. This is for preliminary, and it's also for, actually, we're looking for the final subdivision. The oil closed. Yeah, yeah. So, does anybody want to make a motion to it, or just do it?
make a motion
We're good?
for Meadows 2, located south side of Schlegel Road between Phillips Road, Salt Road, and Phillips Road. LLC is requesting motion for preliminary approval. The subject to PRC comments, subject to letter of credit posted with the town of Webster, subject to Monroe County Water Authority comments.
No variances. We need any variances.
No variances.
All improvements shall be constructed according to specifications of the town of Webster. All roadway construction will be in accordance with the specification and regulations set forth by the town of Webster. All site work is to be in compliance with the standards of the town of Webster. Comply with all requirements of any state, county, or town agency. Address drainage, landscaping, buffering, berm, snow storage.
That pretty much covers it.
And the landscape, number 14, Tony, that applies, doesn't it? You know,
There's no landscaping, the only landscaping will be around the detention pond or something?
Correct.
Guessing you have, right?
Correct.
So you got that.
Okay, rules are subject to drawing number, if I can read it,
CA 100.
CA 100. That's the motion.
Second.
Okay, a motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no one carried. Final? Final, there's nothing to change yet, everything, we can do a final
Yep,
approval, the final subdivision.
make a motion for final approval of Meadows 2. Subject to PRC comments, subject to Parks and Rec fees, subject to preliminary approval conditions, subject to all applicable government fees, subject to Department of Public Works approvals. Significant construction shall occur within 1 year as deemed by the planning board, to expire on 4/6/2022. Conditions of preliminary and final approval are depicted on the cover page of our final design plans. The engineer for the proposed project shall provide letter of certification that all proposed work is completed as per planning board resolution with final approval before a certificate of obligation. Letter of credit to the town of this project shall include a fee for the engineer's inspection.
I'm sorry, could I add one thing to that? I'm sorry.
What's that?
Could the commencement date, you can push that back a little bit since he's also working on Bellaterra, and if we had that go 18 months instead of 12 months, because it might be into early summer of next year before he gets into construction on that. Is that, or if not, we can make it work, but if that's, there's flexibility.
Well, let's put it this way, you already own the property.
Correct.
So in my estimation, you've got the drawings, you've got the project. you've already started, so in a sense, there's construction started.
Okay,
That's all-
if
That's all
that's
there.
how the town
The
views
curb
it.
cuts are there, the dead end road is there, connect to the property and so on. You guys are able to,
Yeah.
18 months? All right, okay, so make it 18 months.
Okay, so construction shall occur within 18 months from today's date, 4/6/2021.
Be October 6th, 2000.
All stormwater facilities to be constructed first. How about downspouts? You gonna connect it to the storm sewer?
Yeah, the front are, the rear where they're not backing up, where they go just out, and there'll be splash run.
Okay. Subject to resolution of final approved minutes. Approvals are subject to drawing number CA 100.
Now, you know, hold on, wait. Number 7 is critical. And we've got to start following this. We talked this last time. The conditions of preliminary and final approval are depicted on the cover sheet. Make sure you have that in your final approved drawings.
Okay.
Preliminary, final approvals.
The conditions?
Because the conditions.
Yeah, generally, we don't, for single-family residential, the plat map is the cover sheet. We'll make sure those conditions are on.
Yeah,
the
they
final
should
plan.
be, because what happens is if any sewer department, highway department, or anybody's looking at anything, they've got that, you know, to go back to, and also the building inspector too.
Understood.
Right,
And it's also
because
for,
things have kind of slipped around by knocking.
understood. We'll make sure it's on.
Okay, the other thing we should put in there too, because this is residential, we have to put, the town has set a fee for parks and recreation fee. So I would add in there, Dave, the current charge by the town board for parks and recreation fees to be applied on this project.
You got that?
No,
You don't have
for parks and recreation. I don't
Subject
think
to parks and recreation fees.
so. Is it on there?
Yeah,
Okay, where's it?
number 2.
Okay, good, yeah, that's good then, all right. I didn't, okay, well, good.
Then I'll second.
That's it, we have a motion, we have a second for final approval for the project. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Thank you very
good luck
much.
with the project.
Thank you.
Yep.
Webster Golf Tee self-storage facility located south side of Ridge Road, southwest of 1041 Ridge Road, Brewster Place. After the our associates requesting preliminary site plan approval to allow the construction of a self-storage facility consisting of 8 one-story and 1 three-story buildings on a 5.93 acre site located in MC, medium density, commercial district under Dakota Town, Webster.
Yeah.
How you doing? My name is Matt Newcomb. I'm with Pastoral Associates. With me here tonight is the developer's representative, Brian McKinnon, also the partner with Life Storage. I have some packets that I'd like to hand out if that's okay. That are really representation of what's up here, just so you can see it better, if that's all right. Yeah. So we're proposing to construct a self-storage facility at 1041 Ridge Road, which is just on the south side of Ridge Road, next to Brewster's. The parcel is about 5.9 acres in size, and it is zoned NC. The current zoning does not allow for self-storage facilities, which brought us to having to go through the zoning board process for use variance to allow for this project to move forward. Approximately 6 months ago is when we started the process with the zoning board, where we attended several meetings. Also as part of the process, came to this board for sketch plan approval. We have received our use variance as of October of 2020. And as part of the process, as I said, we came before this board for sketch plan approval, and we received a positive recommendation for this particular project to the zoning board for the variance. Since then, there really hasn't been any changes to the density or the building types or the types of units that we're going to be providing. The only change that we have made is moving the buildings around some to accommodate fire access and sewer access. As part of the project, the project will be gated, secured. There'll be car readers. There'll also be Knox boxes for the gates to allow fire access. We're proposing 9 drive-up buildings and 1 3-story climate-controlled building in the center of the project. Also on site, there's some constraints, which I'll note. There's a federal wetland that's on site. It's in the northwest corner. And there's an existing stormwater management facility that was actually constructed to handle the runoff from this particular project or whatever had gone through, which we documented is actually sized to handle this. It's actually sized to handle a larger development than we were proposing, so that is adequately taken care of. The project meets all the zoning requirements as far as front setbacks, rear setbacks, density. So there's no additional variances that are required in that aspect. And now I want to talk a little bit about traffic. Some of you may be aware that there was a memorandum of understanding, an MOU. I'll refer to it as an MOU. It stands for Memorandum of Understanding. That was developed several years ago that was related to this project that asked the developer if they were to get to 35,000 square foot of commercial retail space, that they would construct some sort of cross-access. In fact, if you go back through the meeting minutes, that number started at 50,000 and then was reduced to 35,000 as a result of some of the traffic studies that were created or taken into account. So what I've done here is I've provided, going back a little bit, there's been some questions as to whether or not that MOU should really be, is necessary in this case, because the traffic that a self-storage facility generates is significantly less than the traffic that a commercial retail plaza would generate. So what I've done inside the package, you'll see, is I've compared the two uses, and I've actually used 34,000 square foot for retail shopping centers as a threshold, because 35,000 would kick you into the need to provide some sort of cross-access.
Excuse me, do you mind if I get a copy of that?
Oh, I didn't give you a copy.
I don't know if it's skipping.
I'll give you my copy.
No, that's okay. Here's the draft.
Yeah. I was just going to refer to it. So you'll notice on that traffic, the traffic generations for a storage warehouse, for the square footage that we're proposing. There's approximately 17 cars in the AM peak hour and the PM peak hour. Obviously, most of you know that many warehouses or storage facilities aren't really heavily used during the peak hour traffic times. There's also a Saturday count that's on there for your use. If you look at 34,000 square foot of retail shopping centers, you're around 102 cars for the AM peak hour, 143 cars for the PM peak hour, and about 153 for the Saturday peak hour. So we put this together to just kind of help with the understanding as to whether or not this is really necessary in this case, and how we compared everything. So going back to the proposed development, the developer will be constructing approximately 270 feet of roadway just to get back to the site. The developer has offered to allow or put an easement over that roadway to allow any of the other parcels at their will to connect to the roadway at any future development or any future time. So those are kind of the outlines of everything, and I know I threw a lot of information at you guys, so if you have questions, feel free to ask. I'm sure we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. And one thing I forgot to mention is seeker was completed as part of our use variance. So there was no major environmental impacts. It was a negative declaration.
Yeah, Brian,
We've talked a lot about this.
Talked a lot about this whole thing. But I don't have any drawings that showing where you're proposing. Remember we talked about the road going across the front there?
Yeah, so the issue that we have is we don't own the property. We don't own the property across the front, and then actually after looking at the easements were never, there was no ever any easements filed. So we don't own the property to be able to file an easement to allow a roadway to go across there. It was something we discovered as we were doing some additional research on the property. But again, we can provide an easement on our roadway that if anything is ever constructed there or in any of these other lots, there's an opportunity to connect.
See, that's why we had it diverted from the back roadway was, because what they were saying is putting that roadway across the front.
Correct. And like I said, I thought we had easements in place, but after you look through the actual easement language, and there was never any easements filed to allow us to do that.
Who's got the piece of property directly in the front, on the west side of the driveway there?
It's Brace Yourself LLC. It's, I believe it's a orthodontist or a dentist.
Okay.
The lot lines that you're showing along the driveway, are the actual lot lines?
Yes, so there's I don't know, it's 41 foot wide access, it's the property line, and then it opens up into a parcel. So the Brace Yourself LLC has this kind of L-shaped parcel. Again, we've met on this, and we initially thought there was an access easement that was on Brace Yourself's property, but there actually was never an easement that was ever filed for that.
Your drawing says 50 feet?
I'm sorry?
You just said 41 feet. Is it 41 or 50?
It's 41 feet wide, and then it widens out to 50, and then it gets even wider as you come down. You can kind of see how it necks open. So look like that way. It's 41 feet plus or minus, actually I'm sorry, 41, 6.9, 47, 48 feet at the right of way. That's the dimension there.
And the parcel is Brewster's parcel?
Yep,
That is the correct lot line?
that is the correct lot lines for that. Yep. We had our survey company did the boundary survey for it, so we know that that's the correct.
Well, the reason I asked, particularly that, is that when Brewster's parcel was subdivided out, part of that was supposed to get rid of their driveway, tying to this one.
Yep.
And actually, this driveway, if you remember, we had 3 lanes to it, turning divider in the middle. They clearly would not fit within this width of the road.
Yep.
So when even though we gave the approval for the subdivision, it looks like whatever map was filed for the subdivision.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, unfortunately.
Yeah, because there was a whole series of discussions of where to place the driveway, and I remember where it did have a divider. So you had the entrance lane and then 2 exit lanes going out.
Yeah.
Was there something that was really 80 feet wide?
Right.
Stacking it up so that several cars to be able to leave it. And that whole layout was considered when they did the subdivision for Roosters. To me, it's concerning that this has actually nothing to do with how that parcel was supposed to be subdivided. And when was that? That was
Yeah, all of that, I don't remember exactly, yeah, this.
The only subdivision that I've been involved in was this parcel over here, which is on the other side of this, so it really doesn't affect the project. I would wager that the turn lanes and the island was given that this was going to be developed as a commercial shopping.
So yeah, okay, the whole layout.
Yeah, that was the original.
Yeah.
The size of the parcels both for Brace
Are you folks,
We own Brewster's.
okay, this is a public hearing, so why don't we open the public hearing, and if you guys want to hold on a second, hold on.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Why don't you folks come on, go ahead and come up to the microphone, please?
Height difference.
There you go.
I'm Mary, and this is Joe Amato. We own Brewster's. I do have a letter from Paul Schneider, who owns Piece of the Rock LLC, which is the land that we're on the previous Brewster's owner. I was his manager for years, and we just bought the business from him. First thing I want to say is they are using 1041 Ridge Road for their address. That's my legal address. Gulf T was 1051. Please change it, because the community thinks I'm moving. I'm not. We just invested our retirement and savings into buying this business. Not pleased. Didn't even know anything went before the zoning board. We were never notified. So that's something to keep in mind, that things have been trying to go under the table here. Would you like me to start with my letter or Paul's letter?
Whichever you prefer. If it's in a sequence, start with his, I guess.
Okay, what was that? I'm gonna read Paul's first, as he is the current landlord at this point, because in buying the business during the pandemic, yeah, talk about putting everything on the line, we had to hold off on the land purchase for the time being. This is from Paul G. Schneider, owner, Piece of the Rock LLC. He currently lives in Flower Mound, Texas. I write to the Webster Planning Board to express my bewilderment at the Ridge Road Golf LLC proposal for a self-storage unit on their development site. As the owner of a parcel located on that site, approved for subdivision in the spring of 2015, I share a direct and compelling interest in the direction of any further development on the site. Having started the Brewster's Real Ice Cream store located on this parcel, and having run that store for over 25 years, I have a direct interest in seeing that store continue to prosper as a part of the Webster community. I relocated to Texas in 2020 and sold my store to longtime residents of the area, but I still have an ongoing desire for the success of the business as well as the economic health of my tenant. When I opened the store in the spring of '95, I was a tenant of the Golf Tee and a part of an outdoor green space recreational center for the town. When the Golf Tee land was sold to Ridge Road Golf LLC, the town was presented with a development proposal that included residential, retail, and out parcels, still very compatible with an ice cream store. 5 years later, when the subdivision was proposed to the town, the site development plan included retail and now professional services that included increased and integrated parking availability. The current proposal will actually decrease available parking rather than increase it. It fails to address the traffic and parking access and integration of the 3 frontage out parcels within the site. It does not mention anything about the existing driveway as the new entrance is outlined. It modifies and decreases the egress of the new driveway, a departure from previous proposals. Putting aside any considerations of aesthetics or the appropriateness of sitting this function in a medium-high commercial zone, I have only one question. What happened? I have relied as a businessman on 25 years of town and developer interests and direction. I feel blindsided by a changed site development plan that doesn't seem totally compatible with the town's wishes, and in fact, holds a real possibility of hurting my land ownership and the business on which it relies. Finally, the lack of mention of anything to do with the frontage parcel suggests a continuation of a pattern of neglect in regard to their appearance and upkeep. To the board, I would respectfully suggest that there are many, many questions to be answered about this proposal, among which are its effect on the community and businesses, and the extent to which it does or does not dovetail with the previous board directives. Bottom line, proceed with caution. Paul Schneider. You can take that.
and copy it into the records. My comments. As the owner of Brewster's Ice Cream, I'm vested in the development of the area surrounding our business. We entered into the purchase of our business based on the information from the last visit to the planning board in 2015, where plans were reaffirmed for retail development with increased integrated parking with one common entrance. We were looking forward to these plans. Clearly, the focus for this development has changed. Instead of increased parking areas, I will be facing a reduction in parking. We also don't see one main entrance. I invest quite a bit in landscape costs annually to provide an attractive site for the Webster community and our customers. Yet I face an annual battle trying to get the current owner of these parcels to mow the empty lots that are Front Ridge Road and border our business, both to the east and the west. I realize the proposed storage units will be 300 feet back from the road, but it's not 300 feet back from my business. The lack of integration between this development and what currently exists is non-existent. I believe that this choice of a proposal would have a negative income on our business.
Now you say it, why am I seeing your property is separate and where's the reduction in the traffic or your parking?
On the plans that they have set forward, my property line goes to here. They are proposing to rip out all the asphalt from here to this line.
Is that the property line?
This is my property line. They want to rip out asphalt on my property.
On your property?
Yeah.
According to the plan, it was on.
I don't believe that's the case.
Because where they drew the property line is not, you'd have to look at this closer, but that's not where my property line ends. And everything is not on here as far as the light poles. Like they want to remove one of the light poles that's in back, but whether or not you gentlemen are aware of this, I pay the electric on that pole. I put in LED lights on that pole. Why is the light pole going to come out if I pay the upkeep the electric on it? So there are definitely some things not adding up.
Well, this is I mean, what I'm looking at, I'm assuming is the property lines, direct line around the project.
Right.
They should be doing all their work, should be within their property. And if
But
you're
you'll
saying
notice they
they're
put
not,
proposed edge of asphalt. That's where they expect to remove the proposed edge. Everything up to their property line they want to remove.
okay?
And as Mr. Anderson stated, he's aware of Brewster's. He can't do with reduced parking or any flow.
See, you know what, I'm not seeing, I understand what you're saying, but if I look at the line, I don't see where you are getting, if they're taking your you're saying, I guess, they're taking your asphalt out.
From here to this fence line is the proposed removal of the asphalt. There's currently asphalt all the way back here, and there's another shrubbery roundabout.
Sir, if you're talking, you need to talk into the microphone.
There's currently another old shrubbery and a circle around it of asphalt that goes beyond the fence line, but they're proposing removing more than that. They're proposing removing more than that's up to the fence.
It's not clear on this.
It's not clear.
All right, okay. The other suggestion, we get into this, and I guess you guys are gonna have to get together, maybe you guys can work it out, discuss it. We probably are gonna end up needing a site drawing, a tape location, they have showing the property lines. That's probably the best thing we can ask for. And then go from there, whatever's on your property is what you're working with. That's the only thing we can do.
But I'm also curious where the planning board stands on, it's always been that center driveway with the 3 lanes there, which this doesn't indicate. I was supposed to lose my entrance because the town only wanted one curb cut. So when did things change?
Well, that's the problem that I'm pointing out right now.
And I really appreciate that you had that memory of it.
It would be, we would have to go through the files and find how that parcel is supposed to be subdivided.
Spring of 2015.
I did my research.
When was this, about 6 years ago?
Yeah. Spring of 2015.
I've got
Because you're, when
the
you purchase the property.
conditions that were met April 21st, 2015, resolution 15-059, had a whole list of resolutions for that site and what it was in 2015 and what was proposed at that time. I had all that pulled up.
And that has the drawing.
Yes. I'm missing one of my, oh, there's the other one. This is not that. But it had all the conditions that were supposed to be met.
Isn't this driveway from Ridge Road the only access to the entire parcel from Ridge Road?
Currently, my driveway is the only access from Ridge Road to the parcel.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the proposed driveway, the way it was supposed to be, and the way it's depicted now. It's the only access to the rear of the development site of this entire parcel, the whole parcel, right?
The new driveway that they're putting in.
Yeah.
But that would mean if I lose my driveway, how am I accessing, how are my customers accessing me?
If that's, yeah, because I remember that, yeah, if we put a driveway in there, your driveway disappears. I remember that.
Yeah.
And they're proposing, they said that they'd give an easement on that driveway to be able to access the rear parcels. They got a gated situation here.
Exactly.
And people are expected to drive through a mini storage to get the access to what's going to be behind there. We don't know what's going to be behind there, but it wasn't set up for this kind of use. I think it's a misfit all the way down the line.
The access to it, if
This is what I remember as well. And the way the parcel is shown in there is totally different than what you draw the show. So there's something that possibly the previous landowner never found.
you know, if you could leave a copy of that, or if you have another copy of it.
I don't. I actually have to use one of them because I'm trying to replace the skin around my dumpster and I have to send them a copy. I know. Do you have a copy machine that I can?
Well, you got the dates there.
Yeah, it's April 21st, 2015.
I think we need to see a copy of that.
Yeah, we can do that. So now the way this stands, that would be one issue we resolve. I don't know where the line is other than what I'm seeing. The other issue with the road, I'm disappointed that that road doesn't go through that, to make that connection over to those parcels. Across the road. I mean, we lost the back. That's very disappointing because that was
It's the only access.
20 years. Was
Ridge
that-
Road, that's the only access to this entire parcel.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about in the back. Remember, we wanted that roadway to connect
Yeah,
over to
right.
Wendy's.
Right? I think before we can do anything with this, we need to take a look at what the proposed, what we did for the entire parcel before.
The overall.
The overall,
Yeah,
yeah.
but see, what the trouble, what's happened is, apparently over the years, parcels of that have been chopped up and sold off. And now you don't have access across those pieces.
The last time there was actually a proposal of how it's supposed to be. And I'd like to see that as compared to what we're looking at.
The drawing that she had, it's actually kind of a snapshot of the overall thing. It shows, you know, much wider entrance driveway. It shows quite a bit more parking added to your parcel.
And I mean, to be blunt, my business has not slowed down over the years, it's grown. I can't do with a reduced parking. Anybody who's come to the store knows what I'm talking about.
Well, the parking, that's a separate issue. That's wherever the property line is, that's gonna be yours. I mean, that will have to be determined by getting a map showing the exact, you know, where the lot line is.
Right, but I'm talking as far as entering from the center road right way, what we were told to expect, that's where there's confusion.
Yeah, okay.
The original proposal was gonna make it easier to get into the area, not add another driveway to the property.
So in theory, one should be able to tie into that new roadway?
The original plan that shows up there, it was supposed to be access off the new driveway, new parking, the original, the existing driveway was supposed to be there. That was all part of the conditions of approval, so.
Mr. Kashani, do you mind if we clarify some of this stuff? I think we
No,
can-
why don't you go ahead?
Yeah.
First of all, we've got the plans and stuff, but so we can do that.
But I mean, it's to give you an idea of how it dominoes, because we were told to expect a driveway coming out, when we did some landscaping a couple years ago, instead of doing permanent cement beds to put tables on, we did it as temporary because we were figuring we have to put parking over there and then we have to move it to the other side where the driveway is. So all these changes really do impact us on a bottom line for how we were trying to follow what was given to us.
All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just like to make a couple of comments if I could. I'm Brian McKinnon. I've been associated with this project since the apartments were built in the rear there, Webster Green. I don't even know how many years ago that was now, but it's probably 10, 12 years. So I'm pretty familiar with the project. I'm sorry, I sense a little angst with you, and I apologize for that on behalf of our youth. It's certainly not meant to be a hostile neighborhood. We're not going to do anything to impact your business other than what we can do within the legal rights of our property. We believe this enhances the site. I can tell you firsthand, the reason we got a use variance from the board, the zoning board, was that we had zero interest in that site. It only has 47 feet of frontage. There's nothing that retail, office, medical, you know how well Webster's planned the ridge. The frontage pieces are consumed, and there's a number of sites in the rear that just don't get attracted. There's no interest in it. So we would rather have 34,000 feet of medical office here. It's much more lucrative for our team. It's much more financially rewarding. But the reality is there's no market. There's no market for the retail. So we spent 5 years trying to market this, paying the taxes, paying the upkeep, being good citizens, and we had zero interest. And we took that to the zoning board with a boatload of information and documentation that satisfied the zoning board that we made every effort we could, and we had no interest, none. So there's a huge demand in this town for self-storage. Life Storage is already the largest purveyor of self-storage in the country. They've got 1,000 locations. They're a Class A operator. They are going to be our manager. It's a secure facility. It's gated. You're not going to have all kinds of traffic. You're not going to see a lot of lighting. You're not going to see 24/7 activities. That may not bode well for your business because I understand traffic generates sales. I've been to your store many, many times. But there will be traffic generated because we'll finally have a project. And if it's 30 cars on a weekend, that's an opportunity for people to enjoy your business. Right now, there's just a bunch of grass and weeds there, and there's no demand for the property. But our intention is to be good neighbors, and I apologize for the tone. That's not what we're looking for. And you being a business owner, have the utmost respect for what you're doing, and especially during COVID. We understand what you've probably been through. So we're trying to be good neighbors. Maybe we generate a couple hundred cars a week, but that's more than we're getting now because there's no demand for the property to speak of. I think there's some confusion, Mr. Malta, on the access. This plan significantly reduces the need to access this property from Ridge Road. In fact, I would argue that if you look at the site plan, the rear access, where the apartments are and the conifer senior housing in the back, I would argue that most people will probably take that route because it's just easier to get in the back of the property, do your storage and leave than it will be to turn in and out of Ridge Road. So we do have 2 access points. The entire area is secure. The traffic counts, the impact on the school district, fire, police, ambulance is virtually nil. So, but, we'd be paying our property taxes. So it feels like the meeting went a little sideways, and I'm just trying to kind of bring it back into scope, if you will. Because it's a very clean site plan. It's a very good use of the property in the back. It's 200 plus feet from Ridge Road. Nobody knows it's back there. And I think Matt can address some of the engineering issues that may be discussed, but our intention is to be good neighbors with Brewsters. And if you want to meet offline to talk about landscaping, anything we can do with our property to enhance your property, we can give you some parking off of our property. We'd be happy to give you an easement over that. We want you to be successful, and all we can do is bring people to that property, and hopefully they frequent your operation. Thank you.
Real quick, just a couple further clarifications. Brewster's, I'm a Webster resident, and I come to Brewster's as much as I can when there's not a line, so I love the place too. So I'm very passionate about this particular project as well. So I just wanted to clarify, the main roadway there that you see coming off of Ridge Road is 270 feet long. I understand that it may not have been laid out the way that it was originally designed. It's kind of before my time, before I was involved in this project. But to clarify, what we were talking about is providing an easement over that driveway for Brewster's to tie in, for the neighboring properties on the other side to tie in, within our rights. We have a property line, obviously we can't go beyond it. I do want to clear up some clarification on the proposed edge of pavement question that had come up. It is not our intent to do any work on anybody else's property. I think that's just a rogue note that ended up on there. In fact, we see an opportunity where maybe we could allow them to encroach on our property a little bit with some parking and provide an easement. Also, the opportunity to tie into our driveway entrance is certainly there if they'd like to do that, but we didn't want to act as though we were forcing them to do it. It's not really our choice other than we have it there, it's available for their use. If they'd like to eliminate their curb cut on Ridge Road and tie into our roadway, that was the whole idea behind providing an easement over this entry drive. As is the same for the properties to the west of the driveway, which is something that town staff and Mr. Kashani have talked about a lot. But we're only, the struggle we have is we understand what's been previously approved, but we're only we're stuck with what we can do in the bounds and easements that have been filed. And we're trying to do the best that we can with what we have to work with, essentially. And the gates, Mr. Malta, the secure facility is actually off the 270 feet. It's on further back in the property, so the roadway will not be gated beyond where you see our development, or our buildings.
One other thing if I could add, and it's not relevant to this application tonight, but it is to the overall development. When we subdivided this acreage for the the self-storage. We also subdivided the frontage on Ridge Road, which is 1.25 acres, I believe, which would be next to the BSL thing. So that's a separate subdivided parcel, independent of this, that we're hoping we can attract some interest there of whatever way, shape, or form that would be compatible with zoning. But clearly having that piece up front is more conducive to attracting an end user than this piece in the back, which has only got the 47 feet of frontage and it's 200 plus feet back from Ridge Road. So that shouldn't be lost on anybody that in a perfect world we'll be back in with a user for that site that's compatible for the town also and potentially for your business.
So what would, that said, what would be the entrance for that parcel? Would it be that same driveways as Brewster's?
There'd be no way to get there because Brewster's would block. Yeah, and it actually already has a curb cut down currently. It's falling apart, but there's a curb cut there. It shows up very lightly on our site plan.
I'm going to make a suggestion that one, maybe the neighbors get together and try to resolve this thing because there's not this tension and animosity there.
Yeah.
And number two is have a tape location, have a survey and show what the thing is. Number three, probably, I've got a whole bunch of different drawings. Actually, you were in for a preliminary, but it'd be difficult to give a preliminary approval. I think you were just looking to do that direction. Sure. Have some final drawings of what you have for preliminary and final. That shows them what we're talking about, show the actual drawing, show the landscape drawing, have everything on, like the way it's supposed to be. And the other thing is, we talked about the front of the building. I know you're going to think I'm nuts again, but I'm going to say it again. There's 3 stories up, it's sticking up. This thing has got to have some attraction that makes it look, and appreciate the fact it's back, from the road, but that should be a brick wall going up there, not the stucco. And at least the front of the main building going up instead of this, it's a nice building. We've asked for this, and this is one of the things that's in our guidelines to request the applicants to do. We hope you guys follow through with that.
For sure.
Okay.
And just to clarify, we did submit, I believe we did submit a full package that had grading, utility, landscaping. The only thing that I'm providing here tonight is a site plan for your use, but we did provide a full set of plans as part of our initial application. It was some time ago, and we have had several meetings with town staff since, but we will be submitting another set.
Cleaned up one showing where these lot lines are.
Yep.
Your neighbors are referring to, and so forth. Because I'm looking at it, I'm saying, well, if you're within that line, you're in the property. But there's apparently discrepancy where that line is.
Really for your benefit, the way the house before.
I can't hear over that.
I don't know, there must be a bunch of people.
We gotta do something about that. Can't hear all
Is
here.
it loud out there?
It's too loud.
If somebody can open the door.
This is gonna happen all the time.
Just go over and ask them if they can please quiet it down.
This is gonna happen all the time, so something's gotta be done.
Ask them if they can, you prefer to go outside and wait.
So
Okay.
for the agenda and the way it was published in the newspaper, in reference to your property, the way it actually reads, it says Southwest of 1041, and in quotes it says Brewster's Ice Cream. So I don't know if this parcel does actually have an official address and number on it.
It does, 1051 was the golf tee.
But the public only sees 1041 Brewster's, and the world of assumption and rumor mill is off and running.
They don't,
But
yeah.
I guess the point is, don't worry, you're not going to change your address number.
No.
That's already set on here. What I would suggest is just a better way to describe the parcel. And also, I don't think Bachelor Associates is actually the applicant.
We did, right, we did submit as the applicant on the project, only because sometimes it's difficult to get signatures or coordinate with folks when you're trying to, so sometimes we do submit on the applicant's behalf.
Yeah, it should be clarified.
Sure,
Just something to help ease the concern about it.
sure.
That's a problem.
And if I may, could I request preliminary approval, conditional preliminary approval with these items listed, so that way it's at least documented, gives us something to work off of and some progress moving forward?
I really don't think we should go that far in that until we actually have.
I'd like to review the documentation.
Yeah, so we got things clarified. Don't you agree? We should really have the lot lines specific and everything.
I think the really needs to be clarified, sit down, meet together, but also really clarify how the Brewster's parcel was finally subdivided as opposed to what was clearly different than we see before.
You may have that right in your file too.
I'm sure I do, and I'm fairly confident, because when we subdivided out the parcel up in the front corner, we did a boundary survey of this whole area just recently. So I'm fairly confident that what we show on the plan that we submitted are the actual property lines as they are today. So that's where we can get with them and certainly discuss that and clear up any confusion. But again, it's not our intent to take anything away from them.
Well, this came as concept. Did it have a 3-story?
Yes. Yeah, the only thing that has changed since the concept phase is that 3-story building has mirrored itself to the other side of the access drive to allow for fire trucks to get through, which was part of the PRC comment.
Yeah.
And some of the conversations we've had with town staff.
The other thing I'd like to see would be the front side of building B, what that would look like
Sure.
from the road, or at least the materials that would be used on it.
Yep.
Yeah, then we have a complete set. I mean, I'm seeing different drawings and pictures and stuff, but I'm not seeing clear what, there's a lot of pictures of the design of the building. It's a nice building, no question.
Just one final comment, if I could add one thing, please. The previous curb cut and center median, whatever the case may be, that may have been contemplated years ago in anticipation of this rear parcel being, retail or medical or whatever, that was designed to help with traffic and landscaping, aesthetics, because you're pushing people back, 200 feet into a 35,000-foot building. So I'd just like the board to consider the fact that this curb cut really might actually service Brewster's and the orthodontic person that bought that site. They're supposed to build a dental facility there, I guess, or whatever. But the reality is that this curb cut, again, I don't think it's going to get a lot of use for our golf team. I think a lot of people are going to go down Webster Commons and just cut through the back and not deal with Ridge Road and traffic and turning. So that's really just meant to be an access drive and benefiting Brewster's and the vacant lot. It's a far cry from what was potentially going to go there 5 or 6 years ago. I just want the board to please note that, if you would, as you consider our next couple of meetings.
The other thing to consider with that, let's, for the sake of conversation, say Brewster's does tie into that road, is where that would be and how that would relate to what would potentially go in at the west parcel. How that comes out, so it's matching.
Actually, you know what, that's a good point. Because if the road, when we talked about that road connecting going east into Brewster's, I don't know what they think of it, but the consideration is you've got that whole driveway that's there now, which could be perpendicular parking on that whole road. If they came in and just went in there, came out, went right out the road, that may be an avenue to investigate.
Yeah,
that would give you a whole lot more parking.
Yeah,
Yep.
Huh?
that is accurate.
Is that okay?
That's what they do now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we can discuss with them, but again, it's off our property. We can give them a curb cut and we'll align it with what we could see as a potential orthodontist facility and go from there and see what we can do to help them with their parking.
All right, okay.
Negotiations kind of in the spirit of what the original.
Sure.
Was when it was subdivided out.
Yep.
I do understand that the need for the divided highway in and out entrance has probably changed. That may be more of a question for DOT. Give their 2 cents on it.
Yeah, divided that was going to be a major thing, connecting and then going around
Right.
properties along the back, which no longer can even happen, so there'd be no real need for divided.
Yep.
Roadway going back there.
Making sure it's just sufficient for the traffic and lead generation plus realizing that the dentist eventually losing the place.
Correct. Yep.
Again, the reason we originally even recommended this to the ZBA was because no volume of traffic, and it's not a high intensity traffic generated. All right, look, why don't we do this, and why don't you got some notes, get together with the neighbors, maybe you guys can work something out. You're trying to second guess where the lot lines are, we don't know what that we're going with it, you know?
Yep. Sure.
Okay, sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, thanks, man, thanks, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
So would we be on the next planning board agenda after we meet with them, or what do you need?
Yeah.
What does the board need from us?
Oh, just, here's what I've got right now. I've got these, a lot of drawings of the building, the layout of the buildings and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
just a regular blueprint showing the building, what you were ordinarily show, elevations of the building on it. You've already shown the color ones, we can keep these, but I'd like to see it change. I'd like to see it change that one.
Yep.
Just make that attractive. That's gonna be that's gonna be the focal point of this
Right.
thing.
Correct.
Even though it's 100 and some feet back, it's still gonna be there, and it's, and at that height, 3 stories high, you want it to look attractive. And in my opinion, I think we've all agreed on this.
Yeah.
With the guidelines, that does make it attractive, okay?
Sounds good, thank you.
1 second.
Sure.
We're in the middle of a public hearing, so we're gonna, so we're gonna table to a certain date and continue the public hearing, correct?
Yeah, we can continue the public hearing,
But you're gonna table to a certain date then?
but we have to pick when you get all this stuff in, I don't know if we can get into.
I think we can meet with Brewster's this evening and talk to them, and then we can submit tomorrow, whatever it is. Because we pretty much have everything. Again, I'm pretty confident we've already submitted everything, but we can do another submission tomorrow, and if it's okay to be on the next board meeting.
That would mean that it's gotta be 5 business days before, right, Josh?
Yeah, there's enough time.
So you cover it on April 20th maybe then?
Yeah, as long as whatever revised material the board is requesting.
Yeah.
We just gotta make sure that they get it in time.
I talked to, who's the girl that you were with, Matt? I told her, make sure you,
Zena.
I guess, we talked about the landscaping.
Yes. Oh, Bonnie, she's our
Oh,
landscape.
okay, she's the one she
Yeah,
called.
she's our landscape architect.
Yeah, she said, so I just said, just make it attractive landscaping design.
Sure.
Let's make it look good then.
Yeah.
She agreed to that, so.
For the April 20th meeting or May 4th?
I think we shoot for the April 20th meeting. Like I said, I think we pretty much got everything. I think we just need to clarify some things.
Okay.
And,
Continue the public hearing?
Yeah, okay, so then we'll.
Josh, you
we'll,
need things about 5 days before then, so that by the April 15th, the latest?
13th.
13th.
Right.
The next day is the 20th, so yeah.
April.
It's the week.
April 13th.
Just internally, as a board, we should all be copies of the paperwork from April 21st.
And the only thing I would add is that the submissions by the neighbors, the roosters, should be, they should be provided to you. Sure. So that you can have that as well.
I appreciate that.
active in the town could make them available. So that you have, we all should be playing with the same deck of cards, so we all have the same information.
Yeah.
So that we can make intelligent decisions on the same information, not different.
Should we also get the letter that they have written, the Brewster people?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. I want
Stop
the
right here
app-
over here, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I want the applicant to get copies of those documents, only because then everybody has what everybody is shared. And that way, our record, your documents, and their documents should all be the same. That's the whole point.
Yep.
And whatever agreements or non-agreements you make, at least you're basing it off of information that we're all looking at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
You can make that okay in a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah,
For
yes.
sure. With all the modifications and building and stuff? Okay. All right. All right, then we'll keep we'll maintain the public hearing open and table you to the date, what was the date again?
It was the 20th?
20th? April 20th meeting.
Great, thank you very much, I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Thank you. Thanks for your information too, by the way. Yeah, make a motion.
Zoning located 2 South Road and adjacent parcel to the north at like 4th Street for review and recommendation to the town board for rezoning from R2 to R3 associated with proposed 79 lot residential subdivision on 69.5 acre site. And located in R2 single-family residential district under the Board of Town of Webster.
But yes.
Well,
No, not bad, no,
Alder.
Right. Good to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Good evening. I'm Walt Baker with DSP Engineers. With me tonight is Richard Battisti, sitting in the center over here. He's with Forest Creek Equity, the contract vendee for the project. As the board is aware, this property is zoned R2 right now, and we presented it to the town board. The town board suggested that we go to the planning board for review and recommendation to change the zoning from R2 to R3. As the board can look at the code and see what the difference is between the R2 and R3, major difference is the lot size. The R2 zoning code calls for 28,000 square foot lots, and the R3 calls for 22,000 square foot lots. The minimum lot width is still required to be 100 feet wide for R2 and R3, which in turn makes the depth of the lot 220 deep for R3 versus 280. So with the proposal that we're looking at to go from R2 to R3, the maps I presented to the board was a conventional R2 map with 79 lots. And we also presented an R3 conventional lot plan, which has 79 lots. The map that I've got posted here on the board is the R3 zoning layout for the conventional. And what it does is give us a little variance in with the lot depth not being that extra 60 feet. We were able to make some of the lots 220, which is the code. And some of the lots we were able, because of the depth of the property from east to west, we were able to make the lots that are along where the tree line is to the east. It's an open field, major open field. And then there's a tree line to the east, and that easterly tree line, we try to preserve that by making the lots that back up to that 330 feet deep. So we're trying to be sensitive to the trees that are there on the property, as well as give a little variance in the lot width. By going with the plan that we've got, we were able to make some of the lots even wider than 100 feet wide to give us a little variance in case some of the prospective buyers want 3-car garages, and that makes it a little easier having a lot that's 110 feet or 120 feet wide. And we do have a cul-de-sac. The conventional lot still had a cul-de-sac. For the R2, with the R3, we're able to pull that a little bit further to the west, basically, and keeping that tree line behind the cul-de-sac to the east as well. So, the town board, obviously, just requiring that rezoning, they suggested we go to the planning board for your review and recommendation back to the town board before they make a petition to act on the property.
Well, go back about five or 6 years, I believe. This board, we did send a letter to the town board because that was originally large lot development.
Correct.
And large lot, we sent a letter recommending it to be R2, or even, we're satisfied, the board was at the time, to be even R3 at the time. And we based that on the properties across the street. That is in an R2 area, but that was a cluster development.
Correct.
We're after you can name the street, but that's a cluster development. That I think reduced the size of those lots to 14,400 square feet, if I'm not mistaken on that.
Right, which is half the size of
There are much smaller lots over there than what's being proposed here under the R3. So if the board is okay with that, I think our intent was to send a recommendation to make it R3. With the there are some comments. I mean, I've got a few of them where there's a belief that the lots, the houses would be close together and stuff. No, they're still 100-foot wide lots. The dimension of the lots are the same in width. It's just, as you stated, it's just the depth.
Right. Yeah, the R2 zoning is still 100. I mean, if we were to build it, that's our justification plan for the 79 lots. This is what you could build on the site if you were to do the R2 zoning versus what we want to do is R3.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, the zoning, the major difference is the depth. I mean, it's 60-foot difference. You're going from 220 to 280.
Yeah.
So by doing 220, it gives us flexibility on some of the other lots, and in turn, it also helps us with the width. So we got some lots that are in excess of 100 feet.
We did have a request, another applicant, this is back a few years ago, they wanted to use this, you guys remember this at all? They wanted to make it a cluster development, remember that? Yeah. And we looked at it and said, you know, went over and actually walked the site, and you can't make this a cluster development. There's no natural features to be preserved, and that's what we told you also.
Correct.
When we met, that it's, you know, you try for R3 development, standard R3 development, you know, 100 by 200 by 220. That would work. But if you try and put a cluster, there's nothing there to say you're allowed, nothing in the code that says you're allowed to do it at that particular.
Right. Generally, when you do a cluster, you can't get any more than you could with a conventional
right,
plan.
I
don't think they had a conventional plan back then either.
Preserving some natural features.
Right. Preserve
no
natural
features.
features.
You know?
Correct.
That was the reason. So as far as the R3, if the board is okay, I mean, we can send a letter that refer it to the town board to consider moving it from R2 to R3. I guess that's what we're really looking to do.
Yeah.
Now, I know there are some neighbors that have concerns and stuff here. Are you folks?
Yeah, we've got concerns. I've got a concern about
I'm
it.
sorry?
I have a concern. Okay, I have a concern
Oh, wait a
about
minute,
the amount of...
you gotta match.
Sorry?
Hold on. We'll let you come up and speak, okay? Just give us your name and...
My name's Ed Stenny.
Go to the microphone.
Go to the microphone. Okay.
Yep. Just come up, give us your name and address, and you can express your concern.
My name's Ed Stenny. Okay, I live on the corner of Greensboro and Salt Road, right? I moved into Webster in 1985. We got a slogan, in fact, there it is right there, where life is worth living. Yet I watched the town allow building to go uncontrolled.
Really?
Is anyone Yes, have you looked at the 79 homes,
Geez, you
okay?
know something else.
Sir, I don't care, I'm talking now.
Go ahead.
Never let you talk, how about that?
You're gonna let me talk?
79 homes,
Thank you.
okay? Every home is gonna have at least 2 cars in it because it's out there. What about the increased traffic in that area? He's talking maybe 3-car garage, or we
Yeah.
make them 4. Okay? It's lowering the value of my home. I didn't buy there to live in Greece. I could have bought a house cheaper in Greece and lived there. All right? This is not right. It is not right that that many homes are being packed into that area. Okay? Why bother with zoning? It's zoned as R2. It was already brought down from large lot, which unfortunately I didn't know about. Most of the people didn't even know about this meeting tonight or what was involved here. Okay? But no one was happy with that. It's decreasing my value. My taxes are not going to go down when my property value drops, and it changes what I bought. It changes the value of what I bought. I have no problem with the owner of that, going in there, building on the property, but building responsibly. I mean, I look now and see this is not going to be much different than what they're building now down at the golf course there. Where in the morning, say, if you don't have sugar, you can just yell out the window and the next door neighbor will pass it to you. Is this really what we want to be doing in Webster? Is this the Webster that we want? I don't think so. I don't think that's why people are living up in that area. I don't think this is right. Now, I realize this is probably going to happen, and I realize what I'm saying here probably doesn't make a difference. But I'm telling you, it's not right. We're changing the net. When I moved here, we didn't even have a shoe store in Webster. And yet, in every place I look, we're building, building, building. We build those homes there. The schools are already at capacity. I'm retired. I'm on fixed income. I can't afford a raise in school taxes to build another building. I think there's a bigger picture here than just, well, can we fit them in here? Can we put the frontage here or this way or that way? It's a matter of the quality of life. And I think that's something that's worth preserving or at least saving.
See, but what happens, let's go back. First of all, I don't like when I hear things like, we're basically throwing the town away. That isn't so. There's restrictions in the town, and if so, let me finish.
I'm not
I've let
saying,
you talk.
you gave me my shot. Go ahead.
So when somebody comes in and they meet the requirements to build, whether it's commercial, residential, industrial, if they meet the requirements of the town code, they can do it. This one here meets the requirements for homes. It's a residential area. Now, it was a large lot. The owners of the property used to farm it way back when. Well, after a while, Mom and Pa decided they want to sell the property. You worked at a factory, who works here, there, whatever, get a pension. Mom and Pa, their pension is that piece of property.
You're right.
Agreement?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I know the owner.
So when they sell that property, the only way they can sell that property is to make it usable. Well, large lot, there is no request for a large lot development, 3-acre parcels. Now, when sewers became available in an area, then the town board could change that back to, standard size lots. Now, across the street from there, that, like I was saying before, that's zoned R2 in there also, but it's a cluster development, so they made the smaller lots. This is standard. They're going to be let me finish. These are standard 100-foot lots. Whether he does this in an R2 or an R3 is basically the same number. I think it's just a matter of a few lots difference. Let me get this one, see what somebody's got. I'll hold you right there.
It's fine.
All right, let's see how this thing works here. Good evening, this is the town planning board.
Yes, good evening. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I'm calling in regards to the portion of the town meeting that's going on right now.
Okay.
I have some questions. I've got it turned down now, so I'm not hearing the banter that's going back and forth, but I just heard the gentleman that took the podium very concerned about the overbuilding in the area. I live directly across the street from that. I don't know if you need my name and my address.
It would be good, yeah, we can have it for the record. then, yes.
Sure, you tell me when you're ready.
Go ahead.
And then finish your conversation.
The name is Mark and Bonnie.
Mark.
Pauls, D-E-P, Mark and Bonnie.
Okay.
The last name is DePaulis, D-E-P-A-O-L-I-S.
Okay.
And we reside at 237 Salt Road, which is directly across the street from this
Okay,
proposed
Mark,
development.
can I just hold you there a second? We'll let the gentleman that's up here finish speaking, and then we'll get right on with you, okay? Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm sorry.
When that cluster was built, the one that you just referred to, okay? I came to the town board meeting for that one, okay? And you're all different faces now. I don't see anyone here who was at that meeting. But we were told certain things about that development. We were told, for example, they were going to put a trail in there. So the builder went out, I think it was Gerber Homes. They dumped down some wood chips, called it a trail. Now it's 2021. Where's that trail? We were told, yeah, there's going to be a trail there. You know, we're going to set it up so it's in keeping with the area. This is why it's hard for me to trust anything that goes on, because when I went here, in fact, the fellow who told me that was actually a good friend of mine at the time, Marty DeAmbrose. And, oh yeah, you know, we're going to do it, you know, it's going to be nice.
Okay, we got to get to the point.
But anyway, the thing is, I understand what you're saying, but what are we going to do now? Are we going to widen Salt Road? What about the sewers? Do we have the capacity to handle it?
Yeah.
How come years ago they couldn't hook up the other one because I was told that what didn't have the capacity at the sewage treatment plant?
That's all been changed.
Everything's been changed
Yes,
now.
they've added on to the sewer plant and everything. I don't want to get into all the
Okay,
technical stuff.
I've got a concern.
To answer
Again,
you- but that- to
the
answer that, yes, we
traffic,
did.
the increased traffic is a concern to me. I'll tell you, it was kind of nice this past summer when that bridge was down. Now, the bridge is up, it's like a racetrack. Okay, fine. Again, we're going to put in 79, 80 homes there.
But again, unfortunately, it meets the requirements for development, and that's where we have to deal with. Well, you know, my wife was big on this. She was born and raised there. Her name was Clem Road. That used to be
I know.
family's
Yeah.
property.
Tom
All
Glenn
that
fixed
said and
my
done,
fault.
it's history.
Yeah.
But I come home from a planning board meeting, catch hell. It's like, what are you guys approving? You're approving this, you're approving that. It's like I gotta plug my ears because we're doing what we have to do, not what we feel like doing. So it's an issue, but we can't stop it. If they meet the requirements, we have to go with it. Simple as that.
Maybe
And
as-
I understand your
Maybe
feelings.
as a town then, we need to look at what it is we're doing.
The only other way to do it is people buying property. This town owns more property than any other town in Monroe County that they have purchased for open space.
You mentioned the previous owner, right? I happen to know him, okay? Lived across the street, known him and his wife for a long time.
All right, look, we've got to keep
But
moving.
what, I'm gonna say,
All right,
just
go
want to say
ahead.
one
Make it
thing to
quick. Go
pass.
ahead. Go ahead.
When he lived there, he told me several times he wouldn't sell that property as long as he lived there, because he didn't want to see this going on. Now he's gone, and I can understand the pension thing, you know, you got pension, you got this. But now it's okay. So he doesn't have a problem with it now, but had a problem with it then. I don't know. He never, if he was still living there, this would never be happening, because he would sell the property.
Well, but that's the change in situations. You're right, we agree with you, but it's beyond our control. We can't say, no, we don't want any houses, or we can't tell this gentleman, no, you can't build.
I'm not saying don't build houses. I never said that. I said, maybe not 79 houses. Maybe not 79 houses.
All right, well, we appreciate it. Anyways, thank you. Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry. Hello?
Hello?
There we go. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm kind of in agreement with the gentleman that just left the podium. However, I do realize that, like he said, the building's probably going to go on. I had a couple of concerns though. Number one, being directly across the street from that development, we never heard anything about this happening. I watch the board meeting schedules pretty regularly, and I found out on April 29th, this was on tonight's docket, or March 29th, this was on tonight's docket. Does the town not make a practice of notifying people within 100 feet of a proposed project any longer?
When a development comes in, this is nothing more than a review tonight and a recommendation, so there's, excuse me, there's no vote on this tonight, so no, there wouldn't be a notification. But when it comes back, it'll be published, this is just a recommendation to the town board to consider the rezoning, set a date for it, and so on and so forth. When it ultimately were to come back here, gets that far, it comes back here, then that definitely would be published. And you will be notified by that too, yes.
Okay, and at that point would be the time when we had concerns about the design of the development, landscaping and such.
Absolutely.
That would be the time to approach it.
Absolutely.
Versus now.
Absolutely. I appreciate your thought on that. That's a good point. Yes, you're absolutely right.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave you with one parting question, and that is going back to what you talked about, the people who own the property have the right to sell the property. Therefore, the people who want to buy the property have the right to sell it accordingly to build. And we appreciate that, understand that. But at one point, just like this gentleman said, it was factor of 79 homes. If it had been left at large lots, would somebody have bought the property and the price of the property being right?
No.
My question is, when does what these people want for this farmland really become acceptable?
See, the large lot is 3-acre parcels. That's because sewers weren't available, as I mentioned before.
I understand.
But now you get to the point where the cost of the development and stuff, that land, it wouldn't be purchased. All you're impacting then is the owners of the property, because nobody can afford to buy it unless they said, we're going to subdivide a piece off for my son, my daughter, my cousin, my nephew, whatever, in parcels. That'd be the only way they could do it. And that would be no return on the property. And that would be poor planning, because now you can't even lay the plan out the way you want to see a completed plan with the road and so on, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess I understand that, but I guess I also understand that the more people that have to pay the buying price or the purchase price of the property just always equates to more homes. And I understand what this gentleman said, in as much as these people bought that property at a lesser cost, would they have gotten away with putting 40-some homes on or 50-some homes instead of this? I just wanted you to understand my view on that.
I understand. They're good points, legitimate points.
So now tonight, go either yay or nay this, and then we will be notified.
No, we won't yay or nay. We'll just make a decision whether if the board is acceptable to sending a recommendation to the Webster Town Board to review this and consider the rezoning of it to an R3 versus the R2. It'd not be any cluster development or anything of that nature. It'd be just a simple R3 development.
Right.
Then it's up to the town board. They'll put it on their agenda. Once they have it on their agenda, then it's up to them to set a hearing date. That would be a public hearing, when people can come and voice an opinion on it at that point. And from there, if they ultimately approve it, then it comes back to us. If they disapprove it, then it's status quo. It's the way it is, it stays.
Right. But we will be notified for the hearing.
Yes, absolutely. If you're within you're within 300 feet, you said, right?
Oh, yeah, I live right across the street.
Then you'd be notified.
All right, well, thank you for your taking my call.
Oh, thanks for the information. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, good night.
Bye-bye. Okay, anybody else wish to speak? Sure, come on up. Good, how does the telephone work?
All right, my name is Dean Lucas, and I live at 290 Salt Road, so I'm literally the border of this property, literally right next door.
Oh, this is going to drive us nuts. Hold on a second. Let's see, answer this.
I think it might have been, was a short
I'm
trip.
sorry, go ahead.
No, so I guess the question, when did it go from big lot to where we are now, trying to go to R3? Like, when did that happen?
I'm thinking it's about 6 years ago or so. Right, Josh? Whatever.
2018.
18?
2018.
Oh, so it's a few years then.
Yeah, so when Bob sold, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
When Bob sold, and how come, being like literally right next door to this field, how come we didn't know about that? How come I wasn't given notice that they were gonna be changing it?
Back then?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, it definitely had to be, legally had to be published in the newspaper as a public hearing.
Yeah, I don't get the newspaper.
Yeah, well, see, it was published.
I don't think there's many getting
But I
the
mean,
newspaper
it's,
now.
Well, it's
I
on
don't need to break in,
it's
but
on the
now it's on
town's
the
website also.
Okay, I don't really.
So, I mean, you can't send everybody in town a letter.
Yeah, but you would think like the mailbox two down from Bob, that I would have gotten a notice. You would think like literally if my line is the line of that field, you could see the name on this print. Like, why wouldn't I have been given notice, some notice? I'm totally against it, and there's a ton of reasons. One, the traffic, like was mentioned by Ed, traffic is absolutely, right now, it's nice. As soon as the golf course gets like unbelievably populated, like that's gonna be beautiful. You got Schlegel, you got Phillips, you got all of these, it's building and building and building. What about the firehouses?
What about what?
The firehouses.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much that is really, and Ed mentioned exactly what I mentioned out in the hallway. Like, my property is gonna drop price-wise. Are you gonna drop my taxes? I'm believing you're probably gonna shake your head no. You're not dropping my taxes.
You won't drop your taxes.
No, of course you won't.
Of course not, no, they didn't with my.
But you know that my property will definitely drop down.
But the other side, it isn't gonna decrease the value of your property.
Oh, no, definitely, without even one tiny doubt, it will definitely. It dropped in my mind, and I own it.
Well, if you're talking in terms of having open space there, when somebody were to come to buy your house, say, oh, you got a nice house, wow, look at this open field.
I got 12 acres, so I still have open space, but coming right up next to me, I don't have open space. So I'm gonna hear noise, I'm gonna have lights, I'm gonna have like young kids like doing all kinds of crazy stuff, just exactly like you don't want it at your house, I don't want it at my house. I was never given notice that you were changing from large lots to R2.
Yeah, that was done, well, whatever, 3 years ago.
2018, yeah, 3 years ago.
I don't know,
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to assume somewhere notices. I mean, it was, our meeting, when it did come back, you know, it was all published, you know.
Yeah, it was published on a website, and I don't know
It has to
if
be,
it's published in
there's a legal process for publishing it, and that's followed with everything. Tonight's meeting, right now, we have, I think, like 3 or 4 of the items on here were public hearings, and every one of them is in the published, published.
The only reason I know about it is because my neighbor and my wife have been searching and searching to see when this was gonna happen. Because we knew that the lot was for sale. Like, I tried to offer Bob to buy just a swath so that this didn't happen, and Bob didn't sell it to me.
Yeah.
And it's obviously based on money, but I'm really concerned. Ed mentioned it, it's like we're living in Greece, or I've moved to Henrietta. Webster has turned into where I wouldn't have bought. If I didn't have the land and the barn and the storage, I would definitely not live where I'm living. I wouldn't live in Webster.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but
Do you go down Bridge Road on Saturday? Because you feel the same way.
I've been here my whole life.
Ridge Road
and I
on
understand
Saturday,
what you're
forget about it.
saying.
And Holt Road, same thing. You gotta feel the same way.
I traveled Bay Road a lot, and I remember Bay Road when I was a kid. At a 49 Ford, you go up the hill, you went up sideways because there were no gutters. The road was like this from the Bay Lake Road going up.
That was the day.
And that was Bay Road. Now it's like a major highway. I can't even get out onto the highway, onto the road. With traffic sometimes. I understand what you're saying.
It's just a shame. And as far as the Clems go, you said your wife is a Clem?
Yeah.
I think my son actually lives in on 250, one of the original Clem houses, used to be a cottage.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's my son.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate. Oh, yeah, and actually my son works for Tom Clem, too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Good guy.
Tom is a great man. It's a great family.
Good guy.
I just am very disappointed in all of this, and I'm incredibly disappointed in that.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but we just understand what we have to do. That's all I can say.
I do. I've built my whole life.
We feel the same way as you do in a lot of cases.
I just am totally flabbergasted that I didn't know when it went from large lot. And Bob never said nothing.
This, I don't know why or what the circumstances were, but anything here forward, you definitely will be notified. This, like I told the other gentleman, there's no public hearing on this thing. This is just a discussion.
I do understand, because I've been in the building trades my whole life, so I do understand what this is. But what I don't understand is why I didn't know before.
I don't know, I can't answer this.
I know, I wish you could.
I can't. All I can say is that I'm sure it was published, right? It had to have been published.
I'm sure it was
Why you
published in
didn't
the
get that, I don't
DNC, which I don't even know, like, I
No,
don't know any
the Webster Herald, the Webster Herald.
Okay.
No, we try to
Don't read
survive
that,
COVID
but it's
and everything
literally
else.
All public notices are published ahead of time,
Yeah.
upcoming meetings. And if you're within 300 feet, you'll be notified. The town is working on a new program, actually.
I'm within 1 foot. I'm literally.
Yeah, no, I understand, I understand.
Show him
Now,
where
he
you are.
knows, he knows, literally, my property line is right on the edge.
Yeah, this is,
my
I got you.
right here.
So why weren't we notified the first time?
He says he doesn't know, it was in the Webster Herald.
See,
But
it
you're
was
saying
part-
that we're gonna be notified the next time. But how can we trust that if we weren't notified the first time?
It would seem like it would.
Right, I don't want to keep this thing going back and forth.
No,
but-
we do
though.
But.
We do though. That's the
You're right.
point. He's
You
making the
should be
point.
notified.
Yeah, the
That's
point
why
is,
I'm here as
literally,
well,
it should've been
so
in
let
my
me
Hold
heard.
on, will you?
It should have been,
Please.
should have been in
This is
my
a public
I
hearing,
don't
no?
want to cause like a big thing.
Excuse
I'm
me.
not
Why
trying
the
to
fuck am I
This
here?
is,
Why are we here?
first of all, it is not a public hearing.
That's what I'm asking.
Number two, you will come up, you get a chance to go up and speak, but I can only hear one at a time. I can't hear shouting from out there, that's all.
I understand, I'm not trying to get an uproar, that's not my personality, I'm not trying to do this, but I just literally, it blows my mind that I wouldn't have had, like, there should have been something, you know, like, if we're building an addition where we have to have like a variance,
Yep.
there's a sign. There's a sign there that says there's a variance, and then I can find out when that meeting is. So literally, I live right there.
I'm
and I
full
didn't-
agreement with you.
It's not the same as a variance.
And because of what you're saying, that's something that they're working on right now, going back to that, because this contacting with letters, there's always somebody that doesn't get on that mailing list that says, well, I never, just like what you're saying, I never was notified. If there's a sign on the property, to me, that's always been the best communication.
Agreed.
And the town is working on that right now, so
It's
you may even see a sign on
But
that
it's
piece
too
of
late.
property.
It's late for me, though, isn't it? It's late.
Well,
Because big lot, the big
no, no.
lot would have been, that would have been the answer.
Well,
Because we
late-
can't handle
late
that many less than
Late,
79.
late for any comments back then, you have to.
Yeah, it was
Anything
late.
here
How
on
do we
here.
trust we're gonna be notified?
Yeah.
Because it's
the
already,
next
it's already
time?
done. We're not at big lot property, where now we're at R2, looking to go to 3. So it's way late. Whoever's failure it was, somebody needs it like a good swift kick.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, sorry about that. Thanks. All right, anyone else wish to comment? Do you want to comment on something? Well, let me get this. Good evening, it's the Webster Planning Board.
Yes, I have a comment that I want to share with the planning board group.
Sure. Go ahead. Why don't you just give us your name and address, okay?
Sure, it's Michelle Aiden. And 215 Salt Road.
Okay, you got your radio on in the back.
Turn the TV down.
Go ahead.
He's got to turn the TV.
Hello? Yeah, you gotta turn your radio off because we're getting all that feedback.
Okay, we did.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so I live across the street, so from the site. So the water from the land on the east side of Salt Road drains into my property on the west side of the street. So I need to understand the drainage plan and what the developers plan to do from that perspective. I don't want any more water coming on my side of the street from that land.
Okay, Cheryl, you know what? This tonight is just a recommendation for the zoning of it, but they did present some sketch drawings of what they're proposing. And they do show the ponds, which are right by the road, which is the lower side, towards the road. And to answer your question just quickly, those ponds will collect all the water from that site. So the water flowing out will be less than what's flowing out of there now. And this is before anything is done. This is how the system works. Your water intake that you're getting now should ultimately be much less. And that's the reason for the detention ponds on the property.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to bring that up as a concern and going forward.
Sure.
So,
No problem.
and if I could second the concern of the traffic with my neighbors.
Oh, we all agree 100% with that. That's, yep.
Yeah. We have family farms out here as well, and family property, so we are certainly not anxious to see the field that the farmers are using traffic applications. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. And there'll be more of that when it comes in, any process that goes through, during any approvals. There'll be more of that.
Okay, so when is the next meeting for?
Oh, I have no idea. This is, again, tonight is just a referral to the town board. Then they have to set a public hearing date to make a decision what they're gonna do. And then we base our next meeting with them on whatever happens with the town board.
Okay. All right, well, we'll stay in touch and...
It'll be a couple of months anyways, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Good night, man. All right. That's the easiest way. All right, yes, sir.
I just,
Give us your name and address.
Mike Bacher,
Mike, okay.
yeah, and I live, 263 Salt Road, just like right across the street. Right next to Ed, it's a little north, just north. I bought that property primarily because, it's farmland there. And I asked a few of the neighbors and the owner what they were going to do with it, and he's like, "We're not going to sell. It's not going to," same story. And that's all done inside. I'm not here for that, I guess. But yeah, I was, here 14, going on 14 years. And I came from Wayne County where it was a little bit more quiet, and I said, man, who knows what, I live in Webster, so where life was worth living. And we bought, and that was, one of the reasons why we bought that property was because of the property that was, you're looking at, you can still see deer, you probably,
Sure.
And I understand where you're coming from too, but you've seen it all, right? Yeah, I get it.
Over and over.
Yeah. I guess my question was in 2000, when you said way back then, in 2018, I guess way back then it's a different meaning for everybody, but are you, so my question, because I don't do this all the time, right? Is do you guys send out, like if you're within that 300 feet, do you send out flyers, whatever, to neighbors, or is it just the Webster Herald online?
What's going to happen is when they go to the town board or an applicant comes in here, the applicant is required to send for a preliminary hearing, for a public hearing. He has to send a notice. He comes up to the town, he gets a list from the town hall of everybody that's within 300 feet of that property, that comes within 300 feet. He has to send a registered letter, I think it's registered, isn't it, Josh? Or is it just a standard letter? I'm sorry?
First class mail.
First class mail, okay, I'm sorry. To everybody within that 300 feet. Then once that letter is sent, they've been notified, the closest residents. Then it's published in the Webster Herald under legal notices. It's a public hearing.
Right, no, I got that part.
That goes in there. And it's also then published at the town hall on the bulletin board. And it's also published in the Town of Webster website. So,
unfortunately, I completely understand all but the first portion of that, right? Where it's you registered mail, first class and all that. I know personally, I get my mail, right? I walk out to the mailbox. I know what comes and goes, right? And I know that never came. So, what first-class mail are you guys using? Just out of curiosity. And I'm not trying to be facetious, but yeah, you know I am.
You mean like the post office?
Right.
You're
Yeah. So, and I'm on that route, right? So I'm wondering why I didn't get.
Oh, for this tonight?
Not to, no.
When oh, you're talking about back then? I honestly can't say. I don't know.
So if that's supposed
That's what the other
to,
gentleman was
it's
saying,
nice to
too.
be, I know. So that's what his point is my point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Instead of saying the same thing over again, I'm asking a different way, right? So
Yeah, gotcha.
if you were supposed to get a letter, right? Right? Doesn't it seem kind of more logical that we would have gotten a letter? No?
Are you referring to back in 2018?
Yeah, way back in 2018.
None of us got a
I'm
letter.
in 300 feet. I know my property's
We're
within
like
300 feet. I have no letter. Never
on the
received a
border.
letter.
So if
None
you're
of
saying
them-
that
none
we
of
will
us
be
got it.
notified,
We're like within 100 feet. And I'm like, right, my house, it's, yeah. So we never got letters. I mean, you don't, like, I mean, you guys see this, you're here all the time, you know, you got the website. I don't check the website because the guy wasn't gonna sell nothing, right? And then in 18, when he passed on, it was like, all of a sudden, I knew, you know, it was, when you said it wouldn't be worth it, it all depends on your who buys the property, right? And what houses, if they're gonna put it, you know, $750,000 houses on 3 acres of property, you're still gonna sell that, you're gonna make your, I understand where you're coming from, and I get your development, I got it. Trust me when I tell you, I'm in construction all my life, okay? But I know for fact, right, that I am supposed to get that letter. And guess what I got? A goose egg.
Yeah.
Or I would have been here on 2018 and say, I don't think so. And I know for a fact that this place would be packed right now if that were the case. So, you know, how do we go back and say, we didn't do it right?
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I don't know.
I know, it's easy for you to sit, and it's easy for you to sit there and say that, and you too. And you're about to come at me like, I don't know what to tell you, get out now, thanks for stopping by, you know, I get it.
No, we're not feeling that way. I understand what you're saying, but I can't, if I can answer you with something, I'm gonna answer you. You may not like what I say, but I still will answer it. With this case,
I don't know. I couldn't tell my customer, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm gonna put air conditioning in your house or not, I really can't tell you.
How about a copy of the mailing list? You guys have a list of that, you can
See,
pull up and
I don't know what the situation was back then, why you weren't, I really can't. It definitely.
There's gotta be a record of the mailing list.
Excuse me.
There's gotta be a record of the mailing
Would
list.
you guys please? We'll let
I'm
you
just
know.
asking, I'm just trying to help you out here, because it
Well,
seems
you're
like
not
there's
helping
gotta
me.
be some record that you can go by.
Would you please stop a minute? If there's some way we can come up with information on it, we'd have an answer, but I have no idea. The only thing I could say is, if they went and dug the writers up back at that time in the Webster Herald, right? That's the only thing I can think is, it was published, all the legal,
The Webster Herald's fine, I get it, you know, I
all
get
the
it.
legal documents were filled out and sent, and, you know.
The Webster Herald's not first-class mail, it doesn't come to my house, okay? Right, so I'm talking about the letter that said that, you know, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yep,
And
I
that's
have
where
no
I
idea.
think he's saying there's gotta be a registry of those people that you sent it to. So if we can produce that, and you can say, listen, or, you know, have the post office write you some horse manure that says that you sent it out, then that's what we wanna see, I guess.
We heard,
Can I just
Yeah,
add,
go ahead.
because I do the communications for the town. Back in
That's the
2018, no, sir, there's no reason.
I'm not.
Let me explain.
Go ahead.
Back in 2018, the agendas were published in Herald and the website. We now added Facebook and Twitter and the town newsletter.
That's
But
not 300
the
foot.
only, let me explain, please, let me finish. Please. Anytime a letter goes out to you, it is only for a public hearing, and that is only for planning and zoning. If something came to the town board, even if it's a public hearing, there are not letters sent to neighbors. That may be where the issue is, and I will discuss that with the supervisor tomorrow morning, because things are a lot different than how it was in 2018. I have made a lot of changes over the past 2 years, but we have a long way to go. and I will discuss that with the supervisor in the morning about doing notices for town board meetings, because right now, letters do not go out to residents for those public hearings, and that may be where the issue is. Okay,
There you go.
so
That's
I will investigate that tomorrow morning with the supervisor.
Thanks,
Well,
Paul.
we're at-
Appreciate it.
Because the town board would have to make the decision to change the sign, right?
Yeah,
We don't do that.
but then if it came,
I understand.
if a development, in this case, that's what I was saying before now, if this developer, if the town board does change this, and they do proceed to build, then it comes in for a sketch plan review, then it comes in for a preliminary. The preliminary is the public hearing. Then that's the one that she's saying, that's where you would be notified.
Yes.
Right, when you change the zoning, you don't have to do that.
That's published, okay, wait, we can't.
I was just questioning, I don't know. That's why I'm
You have to
asking
be
the
notified.
question.
You have to be
I'm not
notified.
saying that these guys, neither one, the developer, this isn't their issue.
You have to be notified, yes, of a public hearing, but the public hearing is notified legally in the newspaper, at the town hall, and on the website, which you say, Twitter or something also, I guess?
Yeah, Twitter, Facebook.
I don't know that.
Pornhub. But you said that you said that it gets mailed out, correct? Or did you not say?
When there is a proposed project.
Right.
And it is on the applicant or the developer to mail out the letters. The town does not mail anything out to anybody. It's on the applicant. What they have to do is they have to come in and sign an affidavit in front of a notary attesting to the fact that they mailed letters out to the list that we provided. So the town does not do any mailings directly. It's the responsibility of the applicant. I wasn't here in 2018, so I don't know who the applicant was or what the project that was proposed was, but it would have been on that applicant to send out letters.
Well, is it null and void if that didn't happen and that's the process?
Just a clarification, I just want to make sure we all understand the
You know
same
what I mean?
thing.
But I'm not.
You're saying that when they went from large lot to R2.
We can't hear
right?
you up here because
I'm
you're not at
sorry.
the microphone and
I
nobody
just wanted
invited
to-
you up to the
I just want to make
microphone.
sure I
Hold
understand.
on, stay there and ask you a question. Go ahead. What's your question? A question.
What, because I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Now, it was the developer's responsibility to do the mailing, right? And he would have come to you with a list, right? Is that what I heard you say just now?
No.
It comes to
All right,
them
let me
for
explain it.
the
Let me talk and.
Okay,
you listen.
I'm going to listen, because I'm not
The
following.
applicant comes in for preliminary approval. I'm going to develop something on this site, okay?
Okay.
So now he wants to develop it. The town administration, engineering department says, here's the criteria, here's what you have to do. The applicant gets the list of names of the people that are within 300 feet. It's up to him then to make a letter of what he's proposing to do and then mail it to everybody within that 300 feet. He mails it, not the town. It's not their responsibility.
Okay, I got to follow it. When they went from large lot to R2,
Yeah.
would that have happened at that
No,
time?
no, there were no letters sent for that.
Okay, so
No,
he
because-
wouldn't even sent the letter.
No, there were no letters sent for that.
Okay, that's fine, that's all I was trying to understand.
But now had somebody come in for a development back then, you know what I mean? Then
Okay.
the letters would have
All
gone
right.
out.
I heard it said three different ways, and my
Yeah.
head was going like this, like a ping pong, I didn't
No,
understand.
then it would have been a
Okay,
letter
yeah,
sent.
thank you for clarifying,
All
I
right.
didn't understand that.
Okay.
That's
Now, even this, and you know, generally, I think we're probably one of the only towns that even does this. Right now, this isn't even a public hearing.
He said that, and I was like,
Oh, okay, yeah. It's not even a public hearing. We want to hear what you have to say. We're interested in knowing if somebody's got interesting information, you know, to bring up. That's what we do. But again, this is just a review. That's all it is. So we'll see where it goes from here. And
So back in 18, it wasn't, you didn't have to notify us.
not for the town, not for the town.
When you're
boards,
changing it
no,
from
no.
the bigger
They would
lots
be
to
planning
the
boards, zoning boards.
R2.
So would that have been the person who owns the land, that they would have like been an applicant and proposed it be changed from?
She's saying,
You're up. You're up.
is the owner of the land at that time in 2018.
Sorry, thank you.
His obligation.
No.
No, not at all, no.
So it wouldn't have,
I can't make it any simpler than I just did, man.
Because yeah, he did, they didn't
So
have to.
in 2018,
Can you
the
state your
applicant
name?
You
would
have
have
to give us your
been a
name,
developer?
you have to give us your name and address, get to the microphone.
Brenda Lucas, 290 Salt Road.
Okay, go ahead.
So in 2018, the applicant would have been the owner of the land or a developer?
No, he was the owner of the land. He had nothing
So
to
that's
do
why so that's why we wouldn't have gotten a letter, because it was him rezoning his own property.
You're making this way confusing, I'll tell you. I just explained it, clear as a bell, I couldn't make it any better. The applicant's gonna sell his property, he wants to get it rezoned, okay? He wants to get it rezoned. He goes to the town, says, I want to get this rezoned, like what they're doing right now.
Well, that was my question,
all right, let
because
me
you said if
finish
it was
now.
a
Let me
developer, it's on them
All right,
to
go
send a
ahead.
letter. So in 2018, it wasn't a developer, it was the
What's
landowner.
developer? I'm explaining it to you, yes. The developer is the person who's the builder, let's call him the builder. When he comes in with an actual subdivision to be built, that's when he sends the letters out for the preliminary hearing. That's the public hearing. That's when the letters go out. Short of that, there is no letters.
But in 2018, it wasn't a developer.
And
It was just
it's the same thing today. There's no letter going out unless it's a public hearing for a subdivision. This isn't a public hearing.
Is there
And that wasn't a public hearing.
a planning board or a board that evaluates like the amount of homes and the estimated number of people that come into that area for like strain on firehouses or like police department, schools?
Mhm.
There is.
Yeah, that's.
And they can validate that there's enough space in our schools right now with all of the developments going on within like block radius.
Everyone is good. Before the applicant comes in, there's a project review committee, it's called. Okay, we're really dragging this meeting out here. A project review committee is all the department heads, engineering, the water department, the sewer department, the highway department, our board here, and everybody meets and goes over everything. So the fire marshal is there, everyone is there. Everyone puts their comments in. That's not at this stage. That's when a project, we don't have a project. All we're getting is rezoning. We're asking to change the zoning, that's all.
But that is something that would take place.
That is all, at that point, that is all reviewed, yes.
And that would be a public,
No, that's done on.
that would just be them evaluating.
That's right. Then that is all given to the board members who review it and look at it and say, well, okay, somebody from the highway department had a concern about a road, being here or whatever, and that has an effect. So then they change it and do it over. So yes, it's all reviewed.
Do you guys actually, you do a vote today, and a vote to refer it to the board?
All we're going to do now is if everybody's in agreement, is to just, and again, I'm nothing.
But it's, I mean, it's, that's your job right now, is that you guys do a vote to go ahead and approve to do the referral for the board.
Yeah, just, we're recommending.
So when you say that it's out of your hands, there's nothing you can do, that's not entirely true.
We just, well, all we're doing
Because
is.
you can vote to not refer for approval to the board.
What we did 3 years ago was send a letter to the town board referring it as an R2 or an R3. In their infinite wisdom at the time, they made it R2. I wish they'd have made it the R3 back then and been done with it, but I know you don't like hearing that, but that's the fact.
But that's how
So
the structure works.
So
of,
today, we're just
committees and board
reduplicating.
meetings. I mean, you guys will take a vote, and what you vote on, then it's either no, you don't agree, and you're not going to send it to the board for approval, or you do agree, and it goes on, correct?
Yeah.
So when you say there's nothing you can do, that's not true. There is something that you can do, because you can vote tonight and not approve it to go
It's
further.
just a referral to the town board.
Yes,
We're
but you
referring-
have that, that's your vote.
Yeah, I say something, you're saying 10 words.
It's already R2?
Yes,
So
but you're going to
what is
vote,
in front of us right now is R2 versus R3.
yes.
R3, in my opinion, looks drastically better than R2.
But there is a chance that if it doesn't go to R3, they're not going to end up wanting to develop it. Might be, as his words, he said maybe it might be somebody years down the road, but it might not be them right now.
Well, you don't know that, do we?
No, but that's what we're grasping at.
So,
Like, this is our
so our
project.
function is planning, improper planning, and improper planning, like Mr. Mixel just said, you're looking at the best drawing. What would be the best? This one, R2, or the one with the R3 drawing, which is underneath? Which one fits better? Which one has better drainage system off of it? You know, the detention ponds and stuff? That's the things you have to look at to consider. And based on that, the R3, like you just said, does make a better proposal.
Well, I would propose neither, and
Well,
you
you
guys
I
some time
understand what
to
you're
maybe
proposing.
figure something else out.
Okay, thank you. All right, there was a letter sent in by Mr. Feeney here also. We had some concerns about the road in R2 versus the R3, but I think his thinking was the homes were going to be jammed more together. In reality, they're still 100-foot lots. They're still standard size width lots. There's nothing changes on that. And let's see, changing hands in the town, changing the I think 90% of what he's asking is about the lot sizes. And that, you did get it, and you do keep it for the file. All right, and I guess this is, anybody else wishing to speak on this thing?
I just got a quick question.
You gotta go to the microphone.
Okay. Real quick, and you don't have to go on any depth, explanations, just hopefully, for God's sake, it's quick, not my end too. So, just a yes or no really is all I'm looking for, right? Like if this were 2018, and we were talking about our lots, R2, right? Was there a chance that, you know, did we miss the golden opportunity to come in and say, I don't think so?
No.
Okay, so it's R2 now, but then it was like bigger lots then. Did we miss, where did, you know?
Well, it went to the town board based on the letter, you know, to the town board, and then they chose to make it R2.
That was it. So
because everything around there was R2 at the time, but also looking back and you say, okay, it's R2, but you look across the street and you know, there's cluster development where the lots actually are half the size of what these are proposed to be.
Right.
So, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, so, well, this wasn't a public hearing, but it turns into that, yes, right? Let's see. So our charge now is, you looked at the two drawings, you can see what they've got, proposed R2 and R3. The ponds run along the road. Those, again, it's only, this is just a sketch plan you're coming in with, just showing us the concept. That area could be landscaped along by the ponds and stuff there, right?
Yes.
Along the road, that makes it an attractive appearance to the project. Our call would be to, do you want to send a letter to the town board recommending the R3? So that's the question. Mark?
Sir.
Huh? No, I'm saying we have to make a decision, sending it for an R3 to the town board.
I have no objection.
Okay. Derek? I'm just pulling a quick poll.
The R3 is designed to be better development along Salt Road.
Sure.
Preserves the woodland.
Yep. That's a good point too, because there's the woods in the back that saves a lot of those trees back in there. David?
There's no difference in impact between R2 and R3.
No.
R3 is a better layout. I think functions much better than the R2.
John?
I agree, R3 is much better.
Eric?
I also agree R3 is better. Does the town okay with the cul-de-sac? That's come up in the past.
Yeah, they don't like them. You really don't want them, but you got the property, there's no way to unless you can come up with something else. I think you looked at that pretty heavy, didn't you?
Yes, they did.
To try and eliminate the cul-de-sac. But the way it goes back there, there's no way to open a road around. All right, Dave, you same thing? All right, then I'll make a motion that we send a letter to the town board recommending the rezoning to the R3 district. on this parcel?
Second.
Your second? A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, that's it then. All right, so all we did is send a letter recommending it. It's up to the town board. They may say, the hell with you, we don't want that. You know, I don't know. So
I
we'll go
found
with
the
that.
answer for you.
What's that?
I found the answer for you. The rezoning in 2018 was at the planning board, June 5th. It was not a public hearing, which is why you did not get a notice. Okay, so there was never a public hearing. It was before the planning board in 2018, and then it went to the town board right afterwards, and that was the public hearing. But town board does not send notices for public hearing, only planning and zoning. So there's your answer,
There it
okay?
is. Nice job, Karen. She's in it. There it is.
Very good.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We weren't aware of any of that. All right, so we'll direct.
Perhaps we'll see you in a couple months.
Go from there.
Yes. Thank you.
Good seeing you all.
Yeah, good to see you.
Folks, now, your shot now is, going to the town board meeting, which is a public hearing. All right, that's it, we're all set. All right, with that, I guess we're all finished.
Not a public, that's perfect. Yeah, I know. I don't know.